Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of September 12th, 2024, including Sony's mid-generation PlayStation 5 upgrade is here, and a Pro model of the Xbox Series X is nowhere to be found. Warhammer Space Marine 2 is reminding everybody of everything that is wrong with gaming in modernity. Let's discuss if Xbox is missing out by ignoring the character platformer genre, and more. Normal week late on that, but I just wanted to celebrate Starfield's first anniversary with that. Welcome to Xbox On Podcast. Real quick, on this day, in this week in Xbox gaming history, in the year 2014, 10 years ago, on September 9th, 2024. Nope, 2014. There we go. Destiny was released for the Xbox One. I think this is the first game that makes me officially feel old. You know, as someone who's months away and pushing 30. This is my first, there's the ones you always talk about. For me, it's the 2006 to 2010 period of when I was middle school, high school kind of years. I'm oh man, Halo 3, oh man, Left 4 Dead, Sonic Unleashed. I'm so nostalgic. Guitar Hero 3. It's been so long. Oh my God. But I was a kid in those days, I was middle school, high school. I was 8th, 9th, 10th grade, whatever. It's all right, that's baby shit. I was still a kid. But there's something about Destiny being 10 years old that makes me feel especially old, because I remember being I was in college, so yeah, still kind of a kid, but I was paying my own bills, driving my own car, working my own job to do all my own things. I was a moderately self-sufficient individual at that point in time, and I remember having a beard and knowing what it was like to get scraped because I was above the age of 3 months old. I don't know, it just, there's something about this one where it hurts a lot. I'm I can't believe, it's the whole thing people talk about when they get older, how it's when you're a kid, a year takes a decade, and you look back on 2 years ago and you're wow, that was a lifetime ago. And then when you're an adult, you think about 10 years ago and you're that, I'm pretty sure that was last week, because I'm feeling that right now, where a lot has happened since 2014. But when I think about it, it really does feel that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago at most. But no, 4 years ago was just the beginning of the global pandemic that robbed us all of 3 or 4 years of our lives. So that's fucking crazy. Happy 10-year anniversary to Destiny. Very, very special game. I'll never forget. Destiny 1, the original Destiny, is the very last. It's two things. It's the very last midnight launch I ever went to at a GameStop. I remember I went with my buddy Justin. We went to GameStop in Johns Creek, Georgia. Middle of 11 o'clock at night, pulling all up in my stupid little Kawasaki motorcycle that I had back then, because I was a fucking idiot. And I just remember sitting out there being oh man, we used to do this all the time in high school. I love that I'm still doing this even though I'm in college now. I'm waiting till midnight, and I remember getting my special GameStop receipt, because I also pre-ordered the expansion pass with it, which promised House of Wolves and Crota's End, or whatever the fuck that expansion was called. And I remember getting all that shit, just being so hyped, and taking my copy of Destiny and zipping it into my backpack, and throwing my backpack on and hopping on my little bike and being wee, I'm gonna go home and play the game from the people that made Halo, and not realizing that this game was gonna confuse the fuck out of me for 5 months before I decided I liked it. But nonetheless, I just have this really does feel like it was yesterday to me. It's a very uncomfortable, odd feeling. But yeah, last time I ever did a GameStop midnight launch, now I can't even remember the last time I went inside a GameStop. And then in addition to that, it was also, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure Destiny was the last time I ever bought a physical game for Xbox. I think, well, no, that's not true. Okay, I have a physical copy of Cyberpunk, but I don't know how I got that. I think a friend got that, or there's some story behind that was a gift or something. I didn't buy that, but I'm pretty sure Destiny 1 was the last time I consciously made a decision as a person with access to funds to go and purchase a physical copy of a video game because I'm so mentally inept that I thought, oh, let me buy a physical version of this game because I'm an idiot who thinks space is unlimited and will just fill my room with plastic green Xbox cases and then still expect women to come over and think, wow, this is a reasonable person to settle down with and start a family with. That's why I have no kids. Fuck you, Destiny 1 for the Xbox One. But seriously, joking aside, I love Destiny. I love Destiny so much. I cannot believe I've been consistently playing that game for a decade now. All right, that's like a third. That's like a third of my life. What the fuck? Great. Let's move on because that's scary to think about, guys. Welcome to Xbox On, episode 276. Little fair warning. There's a good chance that there's going to be some crazy ass news that's not going to be covered in this week's episode because I am recording a day early this week. We're having a belated celebration of our anniversary, my girlfriend and I. So we are going to we're doing a little staycation trip tomorrow. So I'm having to record this on Tuesday night as opposed to Wednesday night. So you know how that goes. If I record this a day early and I hold it till Thursday, the regular time the podcast goes live, that means on Wednesday, Phil Spencer's going to fucking like announce that he's like, I don't know. He's going to announce that he's like acquired a fucking equestrian team and that he's selling his stake of Microsoft, the company, and then cashing out. And then he's going to just go become a horse rider or some shit like that. He's probably into barrel racing or something crazy like that. And we're not going to talk about it on the podcast because that's all going to happen after I record. But nonetheless, we'll pick it up next week. Oh, well, we still have stuff to talk about. We have a lot to talk about, really. It's just that it's unusual in that we're going to be talking a lot about PlayStation this week for a podcast about Xbox, but I think it's appropriate for the context of the conversation I'm looking to have here. I don't give a shit. It's my podcast. We'll talk about whatever. We'll talk about Nintendo if I so choose, and actually Nintendo will come up this week, so stay tuned for that. All right. Housekeeping out of the way, guys. Notable game releases of the week. Towerborn is officially available on Steam via early access. So if you're looking to get in on Towerborn, be among the first to play it, provide feedback and get a sneak behind what the game is going to be like by playing it in early access, you can go ahead and do so on PC. But I'm waiting for this game. I'll probably play this game in early access. I probably won't wait for a full release because I don't want to wait another 2 to 3 years to play it. But I am going to wait for the Xbox early access, which I believe they said is early next year. I don't think they put a date. So I'm just kind of assuming that means like February, March 2025. So I don't know. But if you are super eager and you don't mind playing on stinky PC, you can go ahead and play Towerborn via early access on Steam now, actually. Next up, the most prominent game releasing this week. Definitely the one we got to stop and talk about for a second. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. It is out now. Last week, if you got the Super Sexy Edition, you got early access to it. It is officially out now for all pedestrians and normies alike. Now, I gotta stop. Before we can talk about this game, I gotta say, I don't know what the fuck happened, but I was so confident. I would say I was like 147% certain that this was a day one Game Pass game. I really, really thought Space Marine 2 was launching the Game Pass up until the point where the day it came out, I woke up. I woke up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, whatever the fuck time to get ready for work. And like, it's the same thing as always. It's like, the alarm's going off. Smash the alarm, pull the phone out. All right, what's happening in the world of things I don't need to know about? Space Marine 2. All right, that's on Game Pass. I should probably start downloading it now, so when I get home from work, I can give it a try. I'm like half asleep thinking this to myself. So I pulled up the Game Pass app to ensure that it was there, and it wasn't there. I'm like, oh, that's weird. The Game Pass app is being stupid. I guess the Game Pass app is dumb. And then I went to Bing and I typed in, is Warhammer Space Marine 2 on Game Pass? And Bing AI, it wasn't even like a web result. It was Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, the AI chatbot. It goes, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 will be available day one through Game Pass. I'm like, I knew that. Copilot knows that. I'm not stupid. So I'm like, okay. And then I go downstairs to the Xbox. I turn it on. I'm like, all right, I make coffee. I'm going to start my download for Space Marine 2. It's going to be a good day. I turn on the Xbox. I go to Game Pass. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, nowhere to be found on the Game Pass page. What the fuck is going on? Did Phil Spencer cash out and buy an equestrian team and quit Xbox or something? Like, what the hell is happening here? Where is Space Marine 2? So just to make sure I'm not super crazy, did the game not come out yet? I go to the Xbox Marketplace and I search up Warhammer, boom, Bolt Gun pops up in Game Pass. That's great. I already played Bolt Gun. I'm not looking for that game right now. Vermintide, fucking Darktide. What are all these games? I'm looking for Space Marine 2. Oh, there it is. Click on it. Purchase now for $69.99. All right, where's the Game Pass logo? I thought this motherfucking game was really in Game Pass. I really, truly did. And it was the rudest awakening. And then I shit you not. I don't know if I was sleepwalking or if Bing is being a bitch. I don't know what the hell happened, but I then look it up one more time. I pull up my phone and I'm like, is Warhammer Space Marine 2 included in Game Pass? And now I get, I don't know what it was. It was like Screen Rant or some fucking website I don't use. Is like, you know, the typical article. It's like, will Warhammer be released on Game Pass? And you have to scroll through 5,000 fucking paragraphs of nonsense you don't need to know about because SEO and fucking page view time and everything. And then you scroll to the very bottom and it's like, question, will Space Marine 2 be included in Game Pass? Unfortunately not. However, you can pre-order it now for full price. What the fuck? So we went from it is in Game Pass to it is in Game Pass. I got so obsessed about this. I'm pretty sure I was like 20 minutes late to work today because of this situation. I went to YouTube and I looked for the oldest trailer for this game I could find. I found one from the Game Awards 2021. So a trailer that's 3 years old roughly. And I looked it up. I'm like, surely at the end of this trailer, there is a Game Pass logo because this game was supposed to come to Game Pass day one, and then something may have happened along the way where that deal fell through. No Game Pass logo, nothing. So I made this up in my head. I completely fabricated this fantasy world where Space Marine 2 is a day one Game Pass game, and only I knew it. I'm pretty sure on this very podcast, I have said numerous times, oh, and Space Marine 2, that's another Game Pass game that looks fucking awesome coming out this year. And no one said a thing, which means you're all either not listening, which is probably the number one thing because this podcast has no listenership, or y'all are too afraid to tell me when I'm wrong, which I doubt it. Or I don't understand what happened. Or maybe number three, I'm actually in a fucking simulation and Xbox On is not a real podcast and I've never hit publish and I've been talking into a microphone sitting here in my boxers for 240 something weeks, 276 weeks for in a row to an audience of no one. This podcast isn't even online. I'm literally talking to myself right now. I don't know what to say. But yeah, Warhammer 40K, Space Marine 2. Here's the good news. The game is apparently phenomenal. People love it. The reviews are in. It is doing great. People are so all over it. Focus Entertainment, yet again, being that publisher that works with these developers on these IP and on these games that are so at home in a time period that has since abolished itself from humanity. What is wrong with the world today that a game like Space Marine 2, which is essentially like a Gears of War clone, not to sell it short or to undercut the things it does to differentiate itself. I never played the first Space Marine. I'm just very familiar with takes on it. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos and I'm very much excited to play this sequel. But from what I gather, these games are more or less just Gears of War clones, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. And so what is it that we live in a world where just a well-made, run-of-the-mill Warhammer IP branded Gears of War clone is released, and the whole world goes apeshit for it because we are so deprived of 8 to 10 hour, single-player, action-packed, straightforward, linear, fun, easy to pick up and play, easy to understand, finite amount of content types of game experiences that it's like, this is such a breath of fresh air. Why is this such a breath of fresh air? Similar to like when Evil West came out a few years ago, right? It's like, why is it so unfathomable for people to think or expect in today's world that video game creators, in a world where people are losing their jobs left and right because video games are too expensive, that we can't just come up with a fucking game that takes like 2 to 4 years to develop by a team of like 60 to 120 people or something like that, and it's just a fucking game. It's got single player, It's action adventure, it's shooter, it's a platformer, it's whatever. Whatever. It's a small hub like open-ended area game, but not necessarily a giant open RPG with 4,000 hours of content. There's no season pass. There's no games as a service. There's no roguelikes, lights, Souls-like, Soulsborne, Metroidvanias. It is just a fucking video game. And I know it's like, Jesse, come on, man, you're beating this horse all the time. A little too much, honestly. At this point, it's not even a horse. You beat it to such a fucking pulp. It's just a bag of blood and guts at this point. Like, stop beating the horse. But it's like, I gotta beat this horse because, one, that horse is a piece of shit that took my money, and number two, because, dude, we got another example of this to talk about today, by the way. It's not just Space Marine 2. There's another game we had to talk about in a more broad sense and in slightly different context, but still the same general idea. Why? We all know, we all recognize the Xbox 360 era was the best era for Xbox. It's probably the best, I don't know, that's subjective. Calling it the best time period for video games, that's super subjective. But saying it was the best time period for Xbox, that's facts for many reasons. But among those reasons, it's like, don't we miss the games? I'm just going to name a couple of games that were phenomenal that happened to be on the Xbox 360, right? And some of these are games I love, and some of these games are just games that I recognize people love. Halo 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Gears of War 2, Guitar Hero 3, Left 4 Dead, Sonic Unleashed, that one's for me, Mass Effect, right? Dead Space, BioShock. What do all these games have in common despite the fact that they're wild? Fallout, Skyrim. What do all these games have in common despite the fact that they're all wildly different games? We got music party games. We got first-person shooters. We got open-world Western-style RPGs. We got the whole gamut. All these fucking games, right? These games were all like, how can we create amazing experiences for the player and focus on fulfilling the vision of our game first and foremost and not worry about the longevity of the product and the resellability and keeping the player hooked and having them come back a year after the game comes out and keeping them in seasonal content. These games had none of this content in mind. Gears of War 2 was just a kick-ass sequel to Gears of War that had great multiplayer and a really fun horde mode. Halo 3 was just the best Halo ever made with a fucking kick-ass finale campaign, a kick-ass multiplayer sweep, and an amazing theater mode, right? And Forge mode. Guitar Hero was just the most fun party game ever. Fallout 3 and Skyrim were just the most incredibly detailed open world, first person RPG style games we'd ever seen, right? It wasn't about, but wait till the DLC comes out. They had DLC, but that was supplemental, not the point of the core game. All this shit, it's like, why is it that we look at BioWare, Mass Effect, oh man, we all just want BioWare to make a game like Mass Effect again. We want Dragon Age again. It's like, yeah, but BioWare can't do shit today because every game they fucking make lets people down. Why? Why is it so hard to make a game like that today? It's because everything, and I understand it's a lot of pressure from trends and from publishers and from streamers and content creators, and just everything is scrutinized and under the knife and market researched to a point where creativity is in the back seat to like trying to service the needs of the market, which is so backwards. You would think it's just like, hey, we have fun, creative ideas. Let's see if there's a market for this fun and creative idea. And it just, I don't know. It's like Space Marine 2 it's a game I look to and I'm just like, why is it so surprising and unusual for a game to be this, for a game to be like, hey, I'm a 9-hour single player, third person, over the shoulder, shooting linear narrative game. I got blood, I got guns, I got kinetic gameplay, I got fun weapons to play with, I got super cool visuals and a fun story, and that's really it. Play me for 10 hours, enjoy the fuck out of me, and then go file your taxes and register your car. Like, go be a fucking adult after this. Go make dinner. Make sure you put at least 1 or 2 vegetables along with your protein because it's very important that you get those nutrients. It's just, but games these days, make sure you're here for season 6. If you didn't play season 6, you're a fucking idiot and I'll kill you. It's like all this games suck so much now. Games suck so much. Why? We get games that have like inspiration and ideas from games like Gears of War, but we don't get games like Gears of War anymore. Why is it so hard to get a game like BioShock? There are so many games inspired by BioShock, but they have procedurally generated environments and Souls-like combat. Shut up. That's not what, no. I'm not trying to stifle creativity. It's just like that shit doesn't feel creative when we get these games nowadays, where it's just an amalgamation of buzzwords and mechanics and trends that we know people are resonating with, that modern gamers are into. It's like, I don't know, taking a game like BioShock and trying to make it procedurally generated or something doesn't sound like a creative idea. It sounds like trying to do something like that on the cheap and with the modern trends and gaming conventions that modern players look forward to. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm talking kind of about We Happy Few a little bit with that. I don't know. It just feels so weird that this is such a diamond in the rough and unusual, pleasantly surprising release of a game in a world where I feel like it's pretty obvious that people are a little tired of the games that demand everything of your life. We need more variety because it just doesn't make sense for every game to be vying for all your time all the time. And then on top of that, everyone in the games industry is losing their job because games are just too expensive to make. Well, it's like, well, let's scale back the scope and the fidelity and the importance of all this nonsense that goes into making games and just focus on making, games with like teams of 50 to 100 people, games that take 3 years to make, and games that are just about fun, have a fun story, have decent enough visuals, and come up with some core mechanics that are doable for a medium-sized team to create and pull off, an 8-hour adventure that's going to entertain and delight guests for a weekend or so, or, your players for like a week or so. That's all you really need, man. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm playing a Kimbot right now. I'm working through that game, and it's great. It feels like a fucking steal for $20, but it's just like, why is this so hard to imagine a world where we can get a game like this, and then the next game I'm going to play is going to ask me for at least 1 year and 74 seasons and battle passes of my life in order to engage with, and that's probably going to be Black Ops 6. But I don't know, man. It's just, shout out to Space Marine 2. Now I will be hypocritical in as hell, but honestly, I'm so stacked with things to play right now because this game is not on Game Pass. I'm actually not going to pick it up right now, but that has more to do with time than it has to do with money or anything like that. I was going to give it a try on Game Pass real quick because I was like, okay, $0 extra to invest in it. Let me just download it and get a taste of this game. But I'm just so bogged down in other things I'm trying to play that I'm like, you know what? If it's not in Game Pass, I'm going to put it to the side and maybe play it as like a holiday game, maybe like after Indiana Jones, play it, around Christmas time. But I'm actually not planning on playing this game right away because with it not being on Game Pass, I'm just going to clean up some other games I'm working on before Shattered Spaces and then Black Ops 6 comes out. But I know this is going to be that like pleasant surprise, like, wow, this game is such a delight to play. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I just, I gotta be a hypocrite and prioritize it right now. It's gonna have to work around my budget and my free time. And if this game's not included in Game Pass day one, I just to be completely honest, it's like, all right, let's finish a Kimbot. Let's get ready for Shattered Spaces, and then. But man, when I get to this game, I'm gonna be looking forward to it very much because it looks phenomenal. And just want to say shout out to everyone involved with this game. Congrats on the very positive reception the game is getting, and hopefully this game's sales reflect the way people are talking about it because they deserve to do well as a result of pleasing the market with a game that's emblematic of what game development more often should be than what it is. So I'm very excited that this game exists. I'm very much looking forward to it when I get to it. But I probably honestly should just buy it and preload it just to support. But I don't know. I did that with Evil West a few years ago, so I don't regret it. And then I think it came to Game Pass like 6 months later. So unfortunately, that is another thing. If you were like me and you were under the impression for some reason that this game was coming to Game Pass, also worth mentioning. Probably will be on Game Pass in the next 6 months. Maybe more if it does really well. Maybe more like 10 months to a year. But I do plan on buying it before that because just like Atlas Fallen, just like Evil West, I want to show my support with these kinds of games because God knows the world needs them. Anyway, I'm getting a text message. What is this? From Nancy Pelosi. This is what this text message I just got from phone number 202-602-6727. It says, "Hi, it's Nancy Pelosi. The presidential debate is just beginning. Chip in $15 ASAP to defeat Donald Trump and elect Dems." And then there's a link here. Nancy Pelosi right now. I love how Kamala Harris is right now on as I'm recording this is on stage right now debating Donald Trump in a presidential debate. and in the candidate debate. And I just love the idea that right now, while that's going on, Nancy Pelosi has the time to individually text me and assumedly, hundreds of thousands of other people at the same exact time. Hey, I'm watching the debate right now, but Jesse, I just need you to know, hey, it's Nancy Pelosi. You got $15 I could spare. These $15 could be the difference between Donald Trump winning or losing against the Democrats. Only you can save me, Jesse, of the Xbox On podcast. It makes, honestly, regardless of your political persuasion, I'm just going to be honest. It makes me feel a little special that Nancy Pelosi is going to take the time during a presidential debate to text me personally. Even if she is hitting me up for money, hey, she thought of me. That feels good. All right. Other notable games coming out this week. Vampire the Masquerade Reckoning of New York. I didn't even know the sequel came out, but that's the third entry, and that's out as of the time you're listening to this. And then finally, the day this podcast goes live, Lollipop Chainsaw Repop comes out. So this is the remake or the remaster of Lollipop Chainsaw, which was like a cult 360 game, that zombie chainsaw Japanese game, which is apparently ridiculous and fun and goofy. I never played this game. I've seen it a lot. I have no context or real connection to this game. I just know that this is a cult hit from the Xbox 360 era, and it's cool that it's being brought forward to modern consoles, so that's available as well. But yeah, that's really it for the notable game releases. Space Marine 2 looks phenomenal. I recommend you go check it out if you're not familiar with this game. It looks like, and from what I understand, you don't need to play the first one to understand the second one. Really at all. But if you're like me and you're going, wow, it's been 5 years since Gears of War 5 came out, this could scratch that Gears of War itch for you. So it looks really, really good. All right, guys. Let's get into our... Oh, we do have one update from last week I just want to touch on real quick. So this is from Pure Xbox. All right, so last week we talked about Inotria, the last song. A game that was indefinitely delayed because the developer was online complaining about how they couldn't get in touch with Microsoft, and they've been trying for 2 months to get a hold of them, and there's no support for indie devs. And we talked about how it seems like Xbox is having some issues with ID at Xbox program, and a lot of indies feel like they aren't getting the attention and the support they need from Xbox. And so they're like, we're going to put the game on PC and PlayStation, and the Xbox version's indefinitely delayed because Xbox doesn't care about us. Well, clearly that was bad PR. That story kind of took off and blew up. So it looks like Phil Spencer or someone at Xbox reached out, because now Phil apparently, according to their updated Twitter post, Jayama Games, the team working on the game, said that Phil Spencer reached out, and they said the following on Twitter. They said, "We would like to officially thank Phil Spencer and his team for reaching out to us promptly and helping resolve our situation. We'd also like to thank our amazing community for all the support shown in recent days. Your voice has been heard very loud and clear, blah, blah, blah. We are working closely with Microsoft, and we hope this collaboration will lead to the game's release on Xbox as soon as possible." So this is clearly like, hey, this is bad PR. Let's do something about this. So they said a top dog to come and personally make it better. And I'm sure it was like, we'll give you top people to help you out, with working on this game and getting it optimized for Xbox. But in exchange, you got to say something nice about us on Twitter to cover up for all the bad press we're getting because of this. That's what I assume happened. So there you go. It seems like, not to pick a side and make any kind of assumption about Xbox and how they're handling their relationship with their indie devs, or if this was one that just slipped through the cracks, or passing any judgment about this developer. But it does seem like kind of like one of those, like, hey, we used our voice online to bitch and moan, and then we got the attention of the big corporation because going through the proper channels wasn't really getting us anywhere. And I guess do what you got to do, man. If you're not getting anywhere through the appropriate channels of communication, I guess more power to you. Make it happen however you got to make it happen. But yeah, there's a good update on that story. All right, guys, let's go into our mildly amusing stories, our little appetizer type stories, and little freaking jalapeno poppers, chicken wings. I don't know what kind of restaurant you're at that these are your appetizers, but this is what we're doing. You got a fucking Stella Artois on tap, and you got jalapeno poppers, and you got barbecue wings, which I don't even like barbecue wings. I prefer buffalo wings because I'm a normal person, but to each their own. And let's start with this new Game Pass tier. So as of the time of recording this podcast, Microsoft has officially now launched Game Pass Standard, the newest tier of Game Pass. This service is The service's latest membership tier includes access to a back catalog of hundreds of games and online console multiplayer, but does not include day one first-party games or cloud gaming. Replacing the now retired Game Pass for console tier, the standard plan is available for $15 US per month. The standard tier was first announced back in July and was previously available in preview for Xbox insiders. The entry level, which is a step below this, which is called the Game Pass Core tier, costs $10 per month, offers access to a curated catalog of 25 high-quality games on console, which will rotate from time to time, plus online multiplayer. And then, of course, if you want the God tier, you got the fucking Game Pass Ultimate, which is all the bells and whistles, including cloud gaming and everything. So this is, I don't know. I know people are really, really harping on how much they hate these new tiers and how this tier is useless. And what's the point of Game Pass that doesn't include day one games? Isn't that the whole point of Game Pass? Listen, they wanted to retire the Xbox Live name, and they wanted to streamline everything. And I wish they didn't, because Xbox Live is such an iconic name and there's no reason to get rid of it. But that's really all this is. It's basically them saying, we want to have a way to retain players and still be able to sell our AAA first-party games and keep subscription numbers up, while also offering an appropriate price point, and also, giving players the options to get all the things they want. So this is basically just about more tiers so they can offer more price points, so they can target as many types of players as possible, retain as many subscribers as possible. And so, I don't know, a lot of people are like, who's this for? Why would you not just want Game Pass Ultimate? It's like, well, I can see why a lot of people wouldn't care about the cloud gaming part, especially in today's world where cloud gaming hasn't taken off entirely. And I guess I could understand why someone would want the Game Pass catalog and then save a couple bucks by not getting the day one games, even though the day one games are the number one draw of Game Pass. In my opinion or guess, this is maybe for like people who are physical game collectors and they want online access play, and they want the curated list of Game Pass games for access to games that they would otherwise never purchase, or smaller like indie games or download games, because that's the bulk of what Game Pass is anyway. And so maybe someone who buys this tier, like they're like, oh, I want to play games like Nobody Saves the World, games that aren't available physically, or games that are smaller that I would never have bought if it weren't for, access to them through Game Pass. And they want that curated list of games that are just gonna, that they're gonna give a try, that they're gonna be able to sample through and find their next favorite game. But when it comes to those AAA first-party releases, these are games they either prefer to buy, or they like to have physical copies, or they like to cherry pick because they don't necessarily care about Forza or Age of Empires, but they're really into like Halo or Starfield. And so for these kinds of players, maybe it's worth it to save the extra $5 a month and be at this tier list where you can try this curated list of games that you've either never heard of, or that are smaller, or games that you would have passed on if it weren't for the subscription. But now you're able to play through them while you cherry pick your AAA games that you want to buy. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's enough tiers of Game Pass now where it kind of caters to everyone, but maybe too many options to the point of where it's like, how many subscribers are you really going to get on this plan versus the next plan up? Because I feel like there are a lot of people who would want that $10 month where you get the 25 high-quality games plus online play. And there's a lot of people who get through Game Pass Ultimate because everyone wants day one Game Pass games. But I feel like this is the tier where it's like you're going to have the least amount of subscribers, because who are you really capturing with this? I feel like I could see this being an attractive option for some people. Although, yeah, I'm sure this is not the most attractive option. The thing is, this tier wasn't designed with the intention of it being the new must-have Game Pass tier. They don't expect this to be the most subscribed to tier that they offer, but clearly they have market research that shows that this is a reasonable thing. And I think Xbox, as they shift into more of a publisher mode and less of a game platform holder, like a console platform holder, and as they go more and more towards supporting things like PlayStation, I think they maybe want to have more opportunity to try and get some people to buy their games a la carte. And so maybe this is like the have your cake and eat it too tier, where like they would like for people to subscribe to this, but not necessarily will it be that people flock to it. So, $15 a month, you get your online access, you get access to the Game Pass catalog, you just don't get those day one games. So maybe you're like, I don't give a shit about Call of Duty, I'm not going to play Black Ops 6, I don't need to buy that, I don't need to subscribe to Game Pass. However, I absolutely want to play Indiana Jones in December, so let me subscribe. Let me buy that game a la carte, and I'll just subscribe to the other Game Pass standard tier. I don't know. This must make sense for someone is all that there is to say, but I don't know. A lot of hand wringing, a lot of people bitching and moaning about this. I just don't have it in me because it's like we could sit here and complain, but like, I don't know. I'm so satisfied with Game Pass Ultimate. It's like, whatever. If you either want it or you don't, maybe you like this tier. Maybe it makes more sense for you. In that case, more power to you. But let's move on and talk about Halo. I feel like we never talk about Halo anymore, which is crazy because so much of Xbox's identity used to be Halo. And now there's just so much shit happening in the world of Xbox that Halo is just one piece of the puzzle. And it's been a pretty fallow subject matter in recent years because, well, Infinite is whatever. All right, from pure Xbox, it's looking like Xbox is full steam ahead when it comes to building the next Halo game. As developer of Halo Infinite, 343 said back in July that they're confirmed to be hiring new staff, including a creative director, to help make the future of Halo a reality. As seen this week on LinkedIn, 343 is advertising a new creative director position that's up to, quote, shape the next generation of experiences for our iconic sci-fi universe. The original post was actually listed a couple weeks back, and with the team reposting it earlier this week, 343 is clearly keen on filling the role, and then having the new creative director put their stamp on Halo as soon as possible, with the posting reading, quote, "We're looking for a talented creative director to help articulate and bring to life the creative vision across the broader studio. Reporting to our head of studio, this role will ground our internal and external teams with clear, compelling goals for our gameplay experiences. This includes initial product vision, overall tone and feel, story and world creation, product differentiation, and high-level gameplay experiences. In close partnership with art design and franchise leaders, you will be responsible for developing and communicating how we create and execute memorable worlds, characters, and stories at a high level, quality, and fidelity across our games." Now, don't mind me. I'm pretty ignorant. It's not like I work in the games industry. I don't know how these things normally go, but this seems like a very important role, a very high up role that you would maybe want to, I don't know, this seems like the kind of role where you would go hunt the person, you would have the person you want for this kind of job in mind, and then you would go hunt to get them. Because if you're trying to find someone who's going to understand the broad creative vision for Halo, someone's going to report to the head of the studio and then come up with, as they say, someone who understands the overall tone and feel of Halo, the story and the world creation, the product differentiations, and the high-level gameplay experiences. I mean, this is like someone you have in mind, and then you go out and you get because you're Xbox, because you're 343, because you're Halo, and you can command that level of talent and that kind of creative force. But the fact that they're just posting this on LinkedIn like it's just some job that's just up for grabs to whoever has the best interview just seems like a little weird. It's like, this is Halo we're talking about. You think they would get to have their pick of the litter rather than have to try and attract talent to such an important indelible role to the future of the Halo IP. It just seems a little weird, It's like, no, it's like if George Lucas was making a new Star Wars movie and he's like, I'm going to put up a job posting for the director of the next Star Wars movie. I'm looking for someone who like wants to continue the Star Wars of the story of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Someone who has a keen understanding of the story of Star Wars and knows how to advance it beyond Episode 6. Looking for someone who doesn't mind reporting up to Disney and to myself and maintaining the tone and the vision of the Star Wars universe. Maybe Star Wars is a bad example since that's been treated in a way that fans hate way more than Halo has. But you get the idea. It's like you're looking for someone pretty fucking important, pretty high up the totem pole, and this is just a LinkedIn post. Like what the hell? I would assume you're pursuing specific talent, but I guess I don't really know anymore. 343 is such a fucking ship of Theseus kind of situation where it's like so much of the staff has been fired or quit or left or been on contract work and been exodused and then rehired and then just built time and time again, that the 343 that used to work at Bungie that made Halo 4, that made Halo 5, I mean, it's not the same 343. It's just a name with some people. I mean, I'm sure there's some people at 343 that worked on projects like Halos 4 and 5, but it doesn't seem like it's very many people. And like this is more or less just some empty entity that is responsible for the Halo franchise, but doesn't necessarily have any core members at it that are the people holding it together and maintaining that through line from the Bungie era of Halo all the way to today. And I mean, I guess it's kind of felt in the way they handle things with Halo Infinite, just spitting directly in the face of Halo 5 narratively and then fumbling the ball hard. And then now here we are 3 years after Halo Infinite, and we're just now getting a creative director. Like, are we even working on a new Halo game? Like how far away are we from the next Halo game? Is it another 5 years away? Are we going to wait like a total of 8 to 10 years to go from Halo Infinite to whatever's next? It looks kind of like that. Probably going by how games are made today, because we can't have more Space Marine 2s, but we got to have more fucking Fortnites. I am assuming that we are probably at least 5-6 years away from whatever the next Halo game is. So, all right, that's starting to make me a little sad. We're going to move on. This is maybe why we don't talk about Halo on this podcast a whole lot, but speaking of Halo, we do have some Bungie news, which is pretty interesting. So Bungie is celebrating the 10th anniversary of Destiny, as we already talked about at the top of the show. And they announced the plans going forward for Destiny 2, the new model of releases, and how they plan to do content going forward with expansions and stuff. So instead of large annual expansions, as they've been doing for a long time, they're now going to do 2 medium-sized expansions every year and 4 major free content updates every year. So they're saying that these medium-sized expansions will depart from the one-shot, like big story campaign kind of structure that they've been doing, and it's going to be more in like a loose-end format. So they're talking about, instead of it being like a point A to point B, point C type narrative adventure, it'll be more of like a open-ended, like go to point A, start the stuff, then go to point C to learn about information that'll help you at point B, which will ultimately allow you to unlock this part at point D. And they talk about it kind of vaguely like that, and they talk about these next few episodes being codenamed Project, I think they called it Project, what do they call it? Codename Apollo. They're saying it's a non-linear, character-driven adventure. It's their new expansion model, and that we'll see them go in new directions away from the story of light versus darkness. The thing that makes me nervous about this kind of reeks of like Modern Warfare 3 energy of like, hey, we need to make more expansions and more story content, but quicker, faster, with a smaller team of people and on a bit more of a budget. So what we're going to do is this open-ended kind of shit where we're going to have a big epic opening and then just some open-ended shit where you're going to, backtrack around different planets, do some like multiplayer type objectives in a campaign level, and then we'll give you a pat on the back or something like that. So it just does sound kind of like finding a way to make more content, but in a cheaper, more budget friendly, small scale development style way, which makes sense as you think about how Destiny 2, it's still a big focus for Bungie, obviously, as they work on other projects, but it's, the biggest part of the game is over, more or less. And there have been so many layoffs recently at Bungie that it would make sense to think that the team working on Destiny today and going forward in a world post the final shape is going to be a much smaller and more nimble team than what we've had the past 10 years working on Destiny as like their primary bread and butter. So I don't think this really, I don't know, to me this kind of stinks of like budgety kind of narrative content. Like we're going to try to sell you something that's like kind of cheap and slapped together. I hope I'm just reading this wrong and that this is actually going to be super high quality, creative, fun, new content. But I'm just, I don't know, something about this non-linear approach to medium-sized story expansion sounds like kind of doing what Sledgehammer did with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 last year, and we're just going to get some kind of slapped together shitty, budgety, Warzone-esque kind of DLC instead of a proper campaign. So, hope I'm wrong. We'll wait and see. Speaking of Call of Duty, Black Ops 6 will not include early access to the campaign this year, as they've done in the past 2 years, I believe. So, in recent years, Activision's offered players who pre-order the game early access a week early to the campaign. This year, however, the company said that they're not going to do that. In a statement, they said, "The team is fully focused on October 25th. We are excited about the game, Black Ops 6, and what it has to offer across all modes. This year, we made the decision to ensure the community will get to dig into any of the additional modes that they want all at the same time. So we're back to one massive global launch on October 25th. As such, there is no early access beat this year for Black Ops 6, just the countdown to launch." So This is a little disappointing just because I loved this, because I loved playing the campaign a week before the game came out. And then when the game came out, it was just full blown into the multiplayer. But this is also fun because it's nice to inundate players with content where it's like day one, the game comes out, and it's like, okay, all new zombies, all new multiplayer, all new campaign, and you're just kind of overwhelmed because you want to do all three so badly. So it's nice too. It'll be fun to have that kind of experience. I do wonder what the reasoning behind this was. I wonder if it has something to do with, like, I don't know, like inevitably not, I don't know if they wanted to make this like a Game Pass perk or benefit, but didn't want to show favoritism and fuck over PlayStation, or if this is like a development thing where they just need every extra week they can get of development. I don't know. Maybe they looked at the data they've gotten from previous years doing that early access for the campaign. I can't imagine it was anything other than a good thing for them, but maybe they have reason to believe that it splits focus and lessens the hype of proper launch day to do it that way, and that they would rather have one super hype day where everything is about this game all in one day as opposed to splitting it up over a couple days throughout a few weeks. So I'm not really sure what the reasoning behind it is, but nonetheless, a little disappointing, but oh well, you can wait another week for the campaign. It's not the end of the world. So looking forward to all of that on October 25th when it comes out, along with Sonic Generations Cross Shadow, of course. But all right, finally, I just want to talk about, so much like our main story of the week, this last little wrap up opening story. It's definitely PlayStation news, but I feel like it sparked something in me that I want to talk about here. So Astrobot is the new PlayStation game that just came out about a week ago. And I mean, let me just say, this game looks fucking phenomenal. I must say, like this is a game that I absolutely would adore to play. This is, aside from Spider-Man 2, this is the biggest game on PlayStation 5 that's released since the consoles come out, where I'm just like, God damn it, I wish I could play that. Like, this is, aside from Spider-Man 2, this is the killer app of the PlayStation 5. But Jesse, what about Horizon? What about God of War? Shut up. Don't care. This game looks fucking phenomenal. And it got me thinking, it's already like Metacritic. It's like the highest rated game that's come out this year. It's got like a 94 Metacritic right now. And here's the thing. This game is, it's a love letter to PlayStation's history with all like the little Astrobot references to various games that have been on PlayStation throughout the 30 years of the brand's identity. But more important than that, this game is, it looks like the closest thing PlayStation has ever made to a proper Nintendo game. It is a character 3D platformer game, but it is creative as hell. It looks fun. It looks lively. It looks unique, and just, it looks like such a great time. It looks obviously very clearly inspired by games like Mario Galaxy and Mario Sunshine, and very much the 3D Mario games, which I love it. His little backpack that shoots lasers that make him float, kind of like Mario can in Super Mario Sunshine with the little flow hydro pump thing. But then it has like very like bite-sized Super Mario Galaxy kind of level design, where it's like you jump from one platform that's like a little globe, and then you like do your thing, and then you move over to the next platform, and it's, it looks like a very, very fun, lighthearted character 3D platformer game with tons of unique ideas. I saw a couple of reviews on it. Just seems like it has lots of really fun, unique mechanics that keep getting introduced and reworked throughout every level, where the game is always trying to show you something fun and new to play around with. But at its core, it's a lighthearted, all ages, family fun 3D character platformer game. And it got me thinking, this game is getting a lot of attention right now. It seems like anecdotally that it's selling very, very well. And the reoccurring theme that people keep saying is like, PlayStation's had some platformers in the past. They've had some games that are adjacent to this, varying success. Obviously, in the PS1 and PS2 generation, they had big success with games like Spyro and Crash and Jak and Daxter and stuff like that, right? Sly Cooper. And those are some legendary PlayStation games. But not only that, but they've also had like some lesser successful games throughout the years, like in recent history, like Sackboy: Big Adventure, or even Little Big Planet in general, which has sold very well, but didn't leave like an impact that's like, oh yeah, PlayStation's like Nintendo in terms of their family games. It's like PlayStation has had the gamut. They've had, successes like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper and Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, but they've also had like kind of like Sackboy: A Big Adventure and like the other Astrobot game that was more of a smaller kind of like a tech demo-y game. But this game seems like it is the game that is like, hey, we can also do what Nintendo does. We can make a game that has the amount of charm, the amount of creativity, the amount of just pure fun and excitement that a game like a new 3D Mario game brings to the table. And I think it's just so important that we highlight these kinds of games because, we talk about a game like Space Marine being so rare in today's world. This is the kind of game that is also that's even more rare, which is I call it like a Mario Galaxy style game. Mario Galaxy, for those who haven't listened to the podcast for a long time, that's my favorite game of all time. The first Mario Galaxy, 2007, Nintendo Wii, Mario Galaxy, November 2007. That game, in my opinion, is the greatest video game ever created. It is an absolute masterpiece in level design, first and foremost. Like, there is not a single second of that video game that is not incredibly creative, incredibly fun to play, and just like the whole time you play it, awe-inspiring. It's like the music in that game is phenomenal. The art style is top notch, is aged beautifully 15 years later. The level design is absolutely superb. Every level, the game has a new mechanic to introduce, and it's always easy to pick up and understand, fun as hell to play with, and keeps the formula fresh from start to finish. Incredible levels, fun locations, really creative, unique designs, amazing game. Mario Galaxy to me is the absolute pinnacle game. Is it about story? No. Is it about groundbreaking state-of-the-art graphics? No. Is it about creating an all-new genre in the Soulsborne franchise? No. It is just a game that whether you are 7 years old or 45, you can pick up the controller and say, this is a phenomenal game. You can play it for all of 5 fucking seconds before you go, this game is special. And there are so few games that do that. And that is, I understand why Nintendo gets the love they've gotten over the years and the respect they've commanded over the years, is because they put gameplay first and foremost. And I don't think there's a better game in the history of humanity that exemplifies that level of success and that style of game better than Super Mario Galaxy. This game, this new Astrobot game, clearly exudes that kind of energy. Now, I'm not saying this is as good as Super Mario Galaxy. I don't fucking know. I haven't played it. But it does look like it has... first of all, it's deeply inspired by that game, but it looks like it has that level of charm and that level of creativity and that level of excitement to it in a way Sony's never been able to capture before in any of their character action platform style games. And now that they finally achieved something like that, we're seeing them, have this game met with a roaring success, incredible reviews, tons of buzz. People are so hyped on it. It seems like anecdotally it's selling very, very well. Once we start to get sales numbers on this game, I will be shocked to find out if it's doing anything other than selling phenomenally well. And it just makes me wonder, why is this something Xbox has just failed to market on and capitalize on and ever really pursue? What's really weird about this, and I know where most Xbox fans' heads always go when this kind of conversation comes up or anything adjacent to it is, oh, they should do a new Banjo... Shut up. A new Banjo-Kazooie game? No. As someone who grew up on the N64 GameCube era of Nintendo, OG Xbox into Xbox 360, and was absolutely playing Banjo-Kazooie as a child and absolutely adoring that game and absolutely as an adult still adores and respects and appreciates Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo-Kazooie is not the game I am talking about. Yes, it is a very nostalgic, very fun 90s character platformer game, but Banjo-Kazooie is not the kind of game I'm talking about. I'm talking about a genre-defining, I'm talking about a state-of-the-art, industry-changing kind of character platform game. The way Super Mario 64 did it, the way Super Mario Galaxy did it, the way a game like Astrobot looks to be doing it. I'm talking about this kind of game. I guess, in a way, Super Mario Odyssey maybe did something like this. But generally, it's the kind of game that really only Nintendo has been able to achieve with Mario games, with rare exception. I mean, I say rare exception, and I can't even think of one other example. But this is the kind of thing where it's like, why hasn't, we had Blinks the Time Cat, we had Voodoo Vince, we had, they own Banjo-Kazooie, but they've really done nothing with it aside from nuts and bolts. In the Xbox One generation, we saw them kind of do a half-assed cheap attempt with a second-party game initially, or really a third-party game that had timed exclusivity with Super Lucky's Tale on Xbox One. And no shade to any of these games. These games were all varying degrees of pretty good. I mean, even Contrast by developer of We Happy Few, Compulsion Games. You know, even they've done a 3D character platform type game as their first game. But none of these games are really what I'm talking about. And it's weird that Xbox now owns Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. They had Toys for Bob and then let them go. They're working with Toys for Bob in a second party capacity, and they have IP like Banjo-Kazooie and basically everything Rare have worked on, Conquer and Cameo and all these kinds of games, but they've never seriously taken a crack at these types of games. And Xbox isn't really necessarily one to imitate. I mean, they lean into their American guns, first-person shooter, racing cars type games, which is cool. I've always liked that about Xbox. But they especially in recent history, clearly have a propensity to try and expand their horizons, expand their genres, buy new developers, acquire new talent that are able to make different types of games that they don't have in their portfolio. But one gaping hole that they've allowed to just stay open forever is this all ages character platform 3D kind of game, something similar to Mario. And I understand that it's intimidating for most developers, most publishers, and they don't even bother because it's like, how do you even begin to compete with the likes of Nintendo and the likes of Mario? I get it. It's just not even worth it. But here is Sony kind of proving that it can be done with Studio Japan's Astrobot game, and it looks fucking phenomenal. And it just makes me wonder, Xbox, is there any desire to get in on the action, to try and say, hey, we can do this too? I know it'd be really hard. I know we get third-person action games. Like the closest thing Xbox has had to anything like this in recent history, aside from Super Lucky's Tale, is maybe like Recore, but that's not really what I'm talking about, you know? I'm saying, when is Xbox going to try to get their Super Mario Sunshine? Because it looks like with Astrobot, PlayStation just got theirs, and it took them forever and ever and ever to get here, but it's working for them. It's paying off. People are crazy about this game, and I just wonder if this is something that Xbox is screwing up by just leaving this genre just on the table, unturned, never really trying. And I don't know, man. I can't help but say, like, even though I love Xbox, it's my preferred place to play games, and most of my favorite games are on Xbox, I will always have a soft spot for a great 3D platformer. It is, in my opinion, the best genre of video game. All my favorite, Sonic, Mario, all the best games I played as a kid are in this genre. And I honestly kind of find it really sad that this is a genre of games that's just so greatly overlooked and under catered to in a world where, like, every indie dev is trying to make the most procedurally generated roguelike action platform, roguelite, mode-lite. It's like, why isn't anyone just trying to make a fucking platform? And I know there are some good ones. 2D platformers like Celeste that are like gruelingly difficult, and 3D platformers like recently released, what is that, Pennies, whatever, from the guys that made Sonic Mania. So I understand there are things out there. A Hat in Time, I get it. But it's just kind of mind-boggling to me that this genre is so underserved, yet we all understand when it hits, when you do get an Astrobot, when you do get a Super Mario Galaxy, we all stop and go, oh yeah, that's like the best shit ever. More of that. But so few people are capable. It's almost like overcomplicating game design by being like, oh yeah, it has a parry mechanic, it has swords, it has leveling, and it has an open world, it has exploration, it has character customization, and it has a fucking what's it called, a non-regenerative parallel, what do they call it, a fucking permadeath mechanic. It has all these mechanics. The more you overcomplicate a game with pretty graphics and open worlds and RPG mechanics and intense combat, the more I feel like easy it becomes to make a game, because it's like, yeah, your game can be awesome because it can just have so much cool shit that you don't have to do anything super, super well. But creating an incredible 3D action platformer game like a Mario Galaxy or an Astrobot is the most difficult game to make. It's kind of like the difference in philosophy of like French cooking versus Italian cooking, where like, like a cuisine like French cooking is often like, anything can taste delicious. You just gotta understand how to work with the flavors. If you're making something and the flavor gets a little too sour or a little too salty, just add this, add a little bit of that. add some more of this, this will change the texture of that. And it's just like you can always add ingredients to make the thing taste good. And that's how you get a lot of complex flavors. You think about like Indian food or like a lot of Latin food or like French food, where it's just lots of ingredients, lots of flavors, lots of different stuff going on. And you can make really delicious food by just throwing a bunch of shit together and adjusting as needed. Whereas you look at cuisine types like Italian food or Japanese food, where it's very, very much about super high quality ingredients and very minimalist steps to creation. Like very, very few ingredients, very few steps to make the item, just have very high quality. Where like, the best, I'm not talking about like American Italian food where we eat like fucking idiots, where it's like chicken bacon ranch pizza with fucking pasta on top. Italians, New York. I'm not talking about that shit. I'm talking about like real Italian food where it's like just simple, like the highest quality tomatoes, the highest quality cheese, making the pasta by hand, and making just like pure food that's just like sauce, noodles, cheese. Everything's of the highest quality, everything's of the highest grade, and made to perfection by people who truly understand how to get the most out of each ingredient. And that's like the most amazing Italian food. Like Japanese food, right? It's like about the highest quality fish and knowing how to age it and how to store it properly. And then marinating the rice with the correct, kind of like vinegars and stuff. But then it's very simple. It's just like rice, fish together. And it's like the most amazing bite you ever had. But like, if you understand the technique and you understand the core concepts inside and out, you can do amazing things with very little. And I feel like that is the character platformer game. It is like high-end sushi, right? It's like, what is there to a platformer? You just run around and you jump. You see an enemy, you jump on their head. You see a cliff, you jump off it onto the little platform below, and then you jump onto the next platform, and then you reach the checkpoint and you win the game. It's like, yeah, it sounds really easy on paper, but for every Mario Galaxy and Astrobot, there are like a billion fucking throwaway, like I remember like the PS2 era, how there were so many of these like nonsensical, like flavor of the week kind of character platform games, right? It's like there are very few examples of these games done immaculately. And it's because very few companies really understand how to do this right. They understand the mechanics in such a way that they're able to extract the most out of them. Whereas, yeah, you can make an Assassin's Creed game that's 75,000 hours long and has 47 DLCs, and you can create your own character, and then you can explore the map, and it'll take you 47 real-world hours to travel from one end of the map to the other, and there's a million side quests, and good luck trying to complete the main quest line, because we will fucking bog your main quest line down so far down the path with all these other optional quest lines, and you can make your character fucking explode into a million fucking pieces and turn into every goddamn genre of human being if you want, because there's so much player choice. And you can do stealth, or you can do a rogue character, you can do a warrior or combat or veteran or a fucking World War II veteran in a wheelchair, because there's just so much choice. It's paralyzing, and there's checkboxes, and there's enemy territories, and you can overcome them. You can put your flag in the ground, and now this is your base, and that's your base, and you can fast travel, but you got to learn the parry mechanic, and you got to dodge roll. It's like, yeah, those games are cool because you can do everything in those games. But at its core, a game like Astrobot is like, this is just pure joy, pure fun, pure creativity. To keep someone engaged for 8, 10, 12 hours in a game where all you're really ostensibly doing is running and jumping means that you have very, very high quality level design and very creative ideas and mechanics and just like level gimmicks and things like that to keep the game fresh, to keep it interesting. Again, it's sushi and rice versus a French soup that has every fucking ingredient in the kitchen all thrown into one pot, right? The melting pot versus fish and rice. And I just feel like we don't have nearly enough of this in games. It's always about bigger worlds, more, that new Star Wars game, right? You see that new Star Wars Outlaws game? It looks amazing. You watch a 2-minute trailer and you're like, wow, this must be great. It's open world Star Wars. The graphics are good. You can fly a ship. You can go to different planets. You can blast your blaster gun just like Han Solo does. This must be a great game. And then you look at the reviews and it's like, 6 out of 10. Why? Because when you're trying to do everything, it's... But then you see a game like Astrobot, it's like you're a little cute robot that jumps on a PlayStation controller, flies around an island, and runs on platforms. It's like, why is that so amazing? It's like, because it is done masterfully. And after 2 seconds of playing it, you understand this is gaming in its purest form. It's why people love Mario Bros. After all these fucking years on NES and shit, because that is way more pure and joyful than it's a roguelite. Every time you kill yourself, you turn into a different character, and that character has a different stat sheet. Fuck you, okay? Fucking French people with your goddamn thyme, rosemary, basil, oregano, goddamn Italian herbs in your French cooking. Anyway, so I think that's basically the point I want to make. I just wish Xbox would explore this. I know Xbox has enough issues just getting like the stuff they're good at, like Halo at this point. But, you know, it's like you're buying up the whole goddamn world for Christ's sake, and then you let Toys for Bob go. It's like maybe somewhere, somehow along the way, you can find someone who might be able to touch on this genre at all. Because I think it might be in your best interest to maybe try and reach that market that Nintendo and PlayStation now seemingly are able to reach, by making something that is pure and joyful and fun and purely about just the mechanics and the simplicity of it all. And I just wish we saw more of that. I would like to see Xbox try their hand at that, even if they do fail. Headhunting Halo wrote in about this and says, bought Astrobot for PS5. It's my game of the year. Most fun I've had with a platforming game since Banjo-Kazooie, and boy does it come close. Cheers to PlayStation for a change from game. Hip hip hooray. I'm tired now. I got the platinum trophy already. 2 days, 16 hours of playtime. My wife hates me. Lol. Good night, everybody. Well, Headhunting Halo, I'm glad for you. It seems like, well, not that your wife hates you. I hope she's not mad at you anymore. But I'm happy you're loving it. I'm jealous as hell, man. I gotta be honest. Now, when I look at the PlayStation 5 catalog, it's Spider-Man 2, Astrobot, and Ratchet & Clank. These are the 3 games that are on there that I'm like, fuck, I want to play those games. And, well, Ratchet & Clank's already on Steam, so I need to just get around and play that already. But, yeah, those are the games. It's like, yeah, if I had a PS5, that's what I'd be playing right now. But anyway, guys, let's move on. We're going to talk about the game, the news of the week, which I'll be honest with you, it's really just one news story. But before we do that, let's get into the games I've been playing this week. But before I can tell you about the games I've been playing this week, I got to tell you about what it is I've been eating. Before I can tell you what I've been playing, got to tell you what I've been eating. So, let's talk about Halloween. It's that time of year. It's Halloween time. We're getting excited, right? Labor Day's over. Time to pull out the Halloween decorations. We're at the grocery store, right? And you know Uncrustables, like the little peanut butter and jelly sandwiches you get for kids where they're in the little package and they don't have crust. It's just like the little circular peanut butter and jelly thing that's super good. Like the crust is super good on it because it's all like squished bread instead of crust. Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, and you know that these things are delicious. So my girlfriend and I, we have like this weird weakness for Uncrustables where every once in a while it's like, we got to get a pack of Uncrustables because we're American and Americans are weird and they eat peanut butter and jelly. And it's just a thing sometimes you crave. It's just part of being an American. But they have a new flavor of Uncrustables where it's not peanut butter and jelly, but instead it's hazelnut, basically like Nutella, right? And we noticed that they're using it and packaging it as Halloween, like a Halloween flavor. They're calling it Boo Crust, and we bought a pack of it out of curiosity. Long story short, there's nothing Halloween about this. They just put spider webs on the packaging to be cute, but there's nothing Halloween related about this flavor. But anyway, it is the regular Uncrustable bread, the little circular bread puck thing, but in the middle is all Nutella. But it doesn't taste like regular Nutella, just like the bread doesn't taste like just regular white bread. It tastes like special, weird, crack-induced, Uncrustable version of all that. And I gotta be honest, I don't know how else to put it, but this is the best Uncrustable flavor ever. I've had the strawberry, I've had the grape. I haven't had the honey one, but I honestly don't give a shit about it. The Uncrustable Nutella, or they call it hazelnut, flavored sandwich, is so good that we bought the 4-pack. We ate all 4 of them before we made it home from the grocery store. And then later that night, we went to Target and bought the, I don't know what it is, like a 16 or 20 pack, like the big box of them. Took it home, and it lasted us, I think, 4 days before we ate all of them again. Like, these things are so fucking good. Like, I will sit there and eat like 3 of them in a row. These things are absolutely incredible. And the trick to Uncrustables, you're supposed to pull them out of the freezer and let them thaw. You never let them thaw. Don't ever let them thaw. Even if you're eating like a regular peanut butter and jelly one, the trick is to let it only thaw for like 3 to 5 minutes so that like the peanut butter is like brittle, like toffee, but the bread is soft and the jelly is soft, but it's cold. That's the way to eat them. But with this one, it is even better because you get like this brittle, Nutella kind of filling and this super soft, moist bread. And it is fucking amazing. So shout out to Schmuckers and whoever the fuck makes this. It's probably Nestle. I don't know. They own all the food. But shout out to the Uncrustable Nutella Hazelnut Halloween Boo Crust, whatever the fuck they're calling it. If you're in a grocery store and you see the hazelnut version of the Uncrustables and you choose not to buy it, you deserve hemorrhoids. That's all I'm saying. But these things are fucking amazing. I will get them again and again and again. And I don't know if they're going to go away after Halloween, but I do know I'm going to eat a whole lot more of these before they don't come back because I love them. And that's it for what I've been eating this week. Now, as for what I've been playing, I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't really play games this weekend. We had some like at home drama. Unfortunately, something really sad happened. We had to give back our little kitty that we got the other week, the second cat we adopted a few weeks back. He had to go back to the breeder, or not the breeder. What is it called? I don't know. It's the fucking. It's not. We didn't get him from a shelter. We got him from. It's like these people that take the cats, and it's like a foster home basically for pets. So he had to go back to his foster home. It was really, really sad actually. Like it kind of like beat us up emotionally. There were some issues that we couldn't accommodate his needs because of how it would conflict with our existing cat's needs. So after a little over a week of having him, he had to go back to his foster family, and that kind of fucked us up. We basically spent the whole week pretty fucking depressed and really didn't do anything at all. So I did not feel like playing video games. So this weekend I played a little bit of the Black Ops 6 open beta just to try and, do something. But I'll be completely honest with you. This weekend, we tried to get our minds off things. So we went to Busch Gardens to go to their Hollow Scream haunted house event for Halloween, and that was like the thing I did this weekend. Other than that, basically we just sat around on the couch. I read some Marvel comics because for some reason I've been on a kick, and I read the Marvel Unlimited app a lot this weekend, but basically just sat there on the couch with my girlfriend just being sad because we miss our little guy. So I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm just being honest. I did not have the drive or anything to, aside from like trying to get our minds off of it by going to that haunted house on Saturday night. We really didn't have the, the drive or the desire to play video games. So I'm just going to be honest. As for Black Ops 6, anything wrap up wise I could say about it. Here's the thing. I wasn't crazy about it the first weekend. I thought it was good. After playing a little more and sitting with it after 2 weeks of having access to it, I'm kind of conflicted. It feels like Black Ops Cold War meets Black Ops 2, but it feels kind of like Modern Warfare, like the new Modern Warfare games with all the tactical tac sprint and mounting and all that shit. I like the new Omni movement where you can like backwards dive and like sideways dive and stuff like that and run left and right instead of just forwards and backwards and stuff. And I like it. It adds to the fluidity of the gameplay a lot. I think it's a welcome change. But for the most part, it's like it just kind of feels like modern Call of Duty, but with Black Ops tuning and weapons and gadgets, which I always appreciate. But I'm just not crazy about what Warzone and Modern Warfare have done to Call of Duty, where zombies feels less like zombies. Black Ops feels less like Black Ops. Warzone has invaded every corner of the game. Everything looks and feels like Modern Warfare to some extent. I feel like some of the Black Ops identity has been muddied a little bit with this game, which makes me really sad to say, but it's true. And I'm hoping that after playing the campaign and getting a tone for like the narrative and the characters and all that Black Ops stuff, that the game will feel more like a total complete classic Black Ops package. But as of right now, it feels much better than Modern Warfare 3, much better than Vanguard, much better than a lot of the other recent Call of Duties. But all in all, it feels like a Black Ops game that was kind of sexually assaulted by Modern Warfare and Warzone. And for that, it's like I'm just not as high on the game as I wanted to be, and I'm just not as into or optimistic about the game now as I thought I would be all year going into this Black Ops year. So we'll have to wait and see again. Let's see how Zombies is. Let's see how the campaign is. Let's see how it is when you have access to the whole product altogether. Overall, it seems like one of the better Call of Duties in recent year, but I don't know that it's going to speak to me as much as Black Ops Cold War did back in 2020, but that's what I've been playing. Let's take a quick break here, and then we'll get into the main news segment. So, yeah. All right, so it's we only have one news story to get to, and it's not even technically Xbox news, but we can't not acknowledge it because it's going to spark a whole conversation. So let's just jump right in. As of the day I'm recording this podcast, Tuesday, Sony has officially announced the PlayStation 5 Pro. The new console will be released on November 7th for $700 US. It will include a 2TB SSD, a DualSense controller, but no disk drive. You'll have to purchase a separate device to have a disk drive. Revealed during a live stream hosted by system architect Mark Cerny, the system introduces a larger GPU, advanced ray tracing, and AI-driven upscaling for new and existing titles. According to Sony, the PS5 Pro will have a GPU with 67% more compute units than the current PS5, 28% faster memory, and 45% faster rendering for gameplay. Meanwhile, advanced ray tracing allows games in-game lights to be cast at double and sometimes triple the speeds of the current PS5. Finally, the Pro model introduces spectral super resolution, an AI-driven upscaling technique that uses machine learning-based technology to provide sharpening image clarity, according to Sony. Not only that, but Xbox fans might be familiar with this upcoming feature. Other enhancements include PS5 Pro Game Boost, which can apply more than 8,500 backwards compatible PS4 games with making them playable on PS5 Pro. This feature may stabilize or improve the performance of those supported PS4 games and enhance image quality so that the resolution on those select PS4 games is improved. So that sounds a lot like the game boost that Xbox Series X can do to make some Xbox 360 games look and run a little bit better than they did on their native hardware. So, all right, let's get into it. We got some comments, but before we do, let's just talk about it broadly. So here it is. It's been rumored forever. We knew it was coming, and Xbox has no Pro mid-generation console refresh, and here it comes Sony with their not $500, not $600, but $700 mid-generation console refresh, the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, for context, the PS4 Pro sold, I think they said it was like 1 in 5, like lifetime PS4 numbers. They said something like 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 PS4s sold was a PlayStation 4 Pro. When you consider the fact that that came out 3 or 4 years into the life cycle of the device, that's actually pretty impressive, especially because it's the more premium option. The cheapest option is always what sells the best. So that's pretty good. We don't know how Xbox One X sold compared to Xbox One or One S, but we can assume, based on that logic, knowing that PlayStation and Xbox have similar ratios, maybe, that Xbox One X probably sold, 1.5 Xbox consoles during the Xbox One generation. So by that logic, maybe like 6 or 7 million units sold at most. More like 5 or 6 or something like that. I don't know. In any case, I think what's happening here is Xbox is probably looking at this opportunity to do the mid-cycle refresh, and they're going, the juice is not worth the squeeze. We're getting clobbered. We came out the gate this generation with the most powerful console ever with the Xbox Series X. We came out the gate saying, hey, no Kinect this time, no DRM. This generation is all about games, delivering to our players, Game Pass, games, best place to play, most powerful hardware. And even then, we're still getting clobbered by PlayStation. In fact, Xbox Series as a generation is doing worse at this point in its life cycle relative to how Xbox One did to the PS4 during its generation. And so the idea of them taking the time, R&Ding, creating new hardware, only to know that this hardware is going to sell minuscule numbers relative to the total console generation numbers, relative to the whole big picture, it's just more worth their time to go in another avenue. Much like how Game Pass was a flip the script moment for Xbox, where it was like, we can't compete with PlayStation at their own game, so let's create a new game. I think they're very much realizing that with hardware as well. And, PlayStation 5 Pro was the rumor we had heard on the PlayStation side of things for a year, maybe 2 years before today happened and this thing was finally announced. And if you look at the Xbox side of things, well, what's the rumor we've been seeing on Xbox forever? Well, they're going to jump the gun on the next generation, beat Sony to it by another year or so, and have that out sooner than expected. in that they're going to be working on some kind of Xbox dedicated native hardware handheld device. And so when you consider that, it's like Xbox isn't looking to do an Xbox Series X Pro edition to compete with the PS5 only to get clobbered by PS5. They're saying, nah, fuck that. We're just going to beat you to the next generation of hardware, and we're going to do a handheld because that's a way to pivot, do something different, offer something new to your customer base, and find, hopefully, another way to be competitive rather than just playing the same game and losing consistently. And so I get that is Xbox's tact and that is their method they're attempting. But here's the good and the bad of it. Optically, no matter how you slice it, it just looks bad that this year PlayStation is going to have new, upgraded, better hardware and Xbox isn't. It's like when someone is agnostic to their next phone and they go, what's new on the market? If Samsung hadn't put out a phone in a year and Apple has a brand new iPhone 25, they're going to go, all right, I'll take the iPhone because it's the new one, right? But if both competitors have a hot new product that is the latest and greatest version of what they offer, then that customer who's moderately agnostic and just open to see what's going on in the industry might go, well, let me see the difference between the Galaxy S24 Ultra and the iPhone 15 Pro Max or whatever, right? Then they might do some cross-shopping. They might do some research. They might make a purchasing decision between the two. But what this capitulation of Xbox not doing a mid-generation hardware refresh tells us is that Xbox doesn't even think that's worth it. They don't think this is a worthy pursuit. They think it'd be better to just take the optical hit now, not have a mid-console generation refresh, and just go, fuck it, we'll get them on the back end. In 2 years, we'll just have the next generation of Xbox, and then the PS5 Pro will look weak compared to that. And then on top of that, we'll have a handheld gaming device, which will be way more exciting and interesting and unique than having just another Xbox that's slightly more powerful than the last one. And so I get it from that perspective. It's like you're playing the long game. You have a different plan in place. I'm okay with that. I'm open to it. I'm not crestfallen about this personally. I feel like this generation has been severely underwhelming. The only thing I really love about PS5 and the Xbox Series X is like things boot up and load faster. You know, my Xbox One was getting pretty sluggish towards the end there. My PS4 was a fucking slug trying to get that thing to turn on ever. So I love my Xbox Series X for those things, like just being faster and snappier. But when I think about the games I played over the past 4 years since Xbox Series X has come out, nothing has really wowed me to the point where I'm like, oh my God, thank God we have new consoles that can do this, because I just really haven't experienced anything that's like, this is groundbreaking, this is next generation, this is why we have this new console. And I know there are things I played that technically have allowed, you know, I don't know, I'm sure Starfield couldn't run on Xbox One, or if it did, it had to be severely compromised in a way that would make me more grateful for the current Xbox hardware. But I don't feel like I've had a next-gen experience really on these consoles, and so I don't really feel like I necessarily need to give up my $500 Xbox Series X that hasn't wowed me yet so I can get a $600 or $700 Xbox Series X Pro edition that can equally underwhelm me. So it's like, I don't know. It's like we are very much in a mature stage with home consoles where it's like, you know, iPhone was really exciting. iPhone 3G was really exciting. iPhone 4 was really exciting. iPhone 5 was really exciting. iPhone 6 was really exciting because each of these generations had drastically different things. One year was like, the phone looks like this. Now it's bigger. Now it's taller. Now it's wider. Now it's a 6-inch screen instead of a 4-inch screen. Now it's got Siri. Now it's got, you know, this feature. Now it's got a 1080 screen instead of a 480 screen. Like the iPhone every year for like the first 5 or 7 years was like, every time was like, whoa, that's so cool. It's so different now. It's so exciting now. But, you know, iPhone 13 verse 14 verse 15 verse, I mean, as the time I'm recording this, they just announced iPhone 16. And I'm not ragging on iPhone. You can say the same shit about Samsung Galaxy and all that crap. It's like, wow, I want to fucking burn my eyes out. This is the same fucking device with minute differences that I do not give a shit about. And you have to just, oh, well, it is what it is. And now the relationship we have with phones isn't like, I'm so excited about the new one because it can do this and this and this. And now it's more like, I got this phone. I'll use it till the battery shits out and I just can't handle it anymore and the screen's cracked. And then I guess in 3 or 4 years, I'll begrudgingly buy whatever the latest model is at that time. And that will be my new phone. And I won't be excited about it because it's just the next phone, right? And we're kind of reaching that level of market maturity or product maturity I think, with home consoles, where it's like, yeah, the PlayStation 5 Pro is 52% faster and then you get 28%. But at the end of the day, this device is going to be a PlayStation 5 that plays PlayStation 5 games. And sure, someone out there who really gives a shit is going to be able to be like, oh yeah, it's so great that I can use 4K and 60 FPS and I don't have to compromise my frames or my fidelity. And listen, I've ragged on Xbox fans for years and years for being these people because I don't think being the most powerful console on the planet is necessarily the key to success. During the Xbox One generation, I didn't give a shit that the PS4 was slightly more powerful than the Xbox One. Didn't mean a goddamn thing to me. Both consoles looked and played the same to me with third-party games. And that's how I feel now. It's like, all right, the Xbox Series X is the most powerful console, and now the PS5 Pro is about to be the most powerful console. Guess what? I'm still going to play fucking GTA 6 on my Xbox and never think for more than a second about ever getting it on PlayStation because I don't give a shit how many 120 FPS ray tracing it can do. It doesn't matter. And if there's anything like all the hullabaloo this generation about Starfield 30 FPS versus 60 FPS in this game, the frame rate about, listen, I think people totally have a right to be upset about these things and to have certain expectations. And I know there were certain executives who said things 4 years ago that haven't been followed through, haven't come to fruition. In certain games, we've been told we can't get it to run at 60 FPS. And then lo and behold, a year after the game comes out, oh, now we can get it to run at 60 FPS. I get it. Hold people accountable, hold feet to the fire, be upset about those things. But personally, from Jesse's perspective, speaking solely for himself, I don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. Now, listen, there's exceptions. Yeah, if Call of Duty suddenly thinks that it can get away with being a 30 frames per second first-person shooter, you got another thing coming. That's not something you can get away with. You know, Forza says, oh, we can't do 4K in Forza anymore. It's like hell you can. Of course you're going to do 4K. But, I don't know. In GTA 6, that game is going to be 30 frames per second, 1080p on my Xbox Series X, and I'm not going to give a single flying fuck about it because it's not going to affect that kind of game. A giant, sluggish, open world Grand Theft Auto game that's mostly story driven and has wonky physics and ridiculous shit going on all over the place. I don't care. I don't need it to be 60 FPS. It's not going to be the make or break between me and that kill streak I was running. You know, I don't need to be 4K. I don't really give a shit about looking at a fake version of Miami, Florida in 4K. It's like, whatever, 1080p, 4K. My eyes are shit anyway. I can't tell the difference. It looks great. To me, every game today looks so great. I don't care. So I'm going to continue to play my Xbox Series X. I'm not going to give a shit about the PS5 Pro and what it does. And I'm going to say, well, I'm glad I paid $500 for my Xbox Series X instead of $700 just to be slightly better than everybody else on PS5 Pro. And to people who are excited about the PS5 Pro, I don't mean to rain on your parade. It's fucking awesome. There are people who are super into the hardware and the tech and everything. And that's great. Listen, I get it, man. I don't always have the newest, greatest phone because I don't necessarily give a shit about the Snapdragon version 4.7 core processor. Whatever, dude. I'd rather have the phone that bends and flips and folds and does the cool shit with like 2-year-old cameras in it than a phone that has a Snapdragon XG Q9 liquid cool. Whatever. Your phone's 7% faster. Who gives a shit? Your camera's 6% crisper. Who gives a shit? So, I don't know. That's why it's like, I've always been a Nintendo fan from that perspective. Like, during the Wii generation, I loved Nintendo. I loved the Wii. I loved motion controls. I thought that was fucking sick. I love the Wii U for all its wonkiness. In theory, I love the Switch. The idea of something that's dockable, that's also a handheld, fucking badass. I love it. Sliding the controllers off of the handheld and using it like a Nintendo Wii remote, that is super cool. And if Xbox is making the decision now to head more into the direction of doing like a Nintendo Switch type thing with a portable handheld dockable thing, as opposed to like, it's the greatest, most powerful console ever made, then sign me up for that thing, because I'll take fun, unique, cool, innovative, forward-thinking ideas over power for the sake of power. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of like my love of, like, I guess that translates to everything, really, because it's like, I'll take the bendy, flippy, foldy phones over the Pro Max XL, double, triple XL condom edition phone. I'll take a Japanese car that's like super fun to drive, about center of gravity and a turbo 4-cylinder engine and a fun gearbox over a fucking big American muscle car that can just go super fucking fast but sucks at literally everything else. It's like, I don't know. It's like, what is the point of power for the sake of power? Like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I like a loud engine. I like a fast car. I like a phone with the best battery life and the coolest camera on the market. Those things are cool, and I respect it. I think it's cool that the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to have 67% more compute units than the previous PS5. Don't get me wrong. But, like, I don't know. Like, I'd rather have my Xbox be a handheld and a console than have my Xbox have 67% more compute units. Because at the end of the day, I'm still going to be playing fucking Sonic Unleashed for the millionth time on my Xbox, while all y'all motherfuckers just play your billionth goddamn Souls-like game because you're fucking addicted to them like a teenager who just discovered Pornhub. So it's like, I don't fucking know what to say. PS5 Pro, it looks cool. It's certainly for the most hardcore power users of the PlayStation community. I am happy for those motherfuckers. I think $700 is ridiculous. I understand inflation's a thing, but holy shit. And that's another thing, is that brings up this other conversation. Let me make sure this isn't one of the comments is talking about. Let's read HD Hobbs, because I think he may have touched on this real quick, because I want to talk about next generation's pricing. HD Hobbs says, PlayStation just announced PS5 Pro. Of course, the big talking point is the $700 price tag. Since it is a Pro model, it's technically a mid-gen refresh, meaning that it is highly likely that the next-gen console will be even more expensive. This has me somewhat concerned that the next Xbox could be $800 or more. At what point does this hobby become too expensive? Well, let's think a minute. I don't remember how much the PS4 Pro cost. I think it was $400, which was the same price as the base console. I think when PS4 Pro came out, regular PlayStation went from $400 to $300, and the Pro was $400, if I'm not mistaken. With Xbox One, I remember when the Xbox One X came out, it was $400, right? Or was it $500? I'm pretty sure it was $400. Price of Xbox One X at release. $500. Okay, well, there you go. The Xbox One X in 2017, when it came out, was $500. And then 3 years later, the Series X came out, and it was $500. So going off of Xbox's own track record, the next Xbox, there's no way it's going to be $500. Inflation has just been too much of a motherfucking bitch. So yeah, the next generation of Xbox, I fully expect it to be no less than $600, but it'll probably be $700. Why? Because if PlayStation's going to get away with it, then Xbox is going to follow suit. They're not going to leave money on the table. If PlayStation can prove that people will buy PlayStation at $700, then Xbox will do $700. But I do not see Xbox going, fuck you, we'll do $800. I don't think that happens. So I think $700 is the ceiling right now, and Xbox will use that as like a way to kind of make PlayStation look bad. Is they'll say in a year or two, here is the next generation of Xbox. It's not a mid-generation refresh. It's not a Pro model. It is the next generation in Xbox. And it costs as much as that PS5 Pro that just came out the other year that you guys are playing. So what are you going to do for $700? Get a mid-generation refresh of the PlayStation or the next generation of Xbox for the same price? That is my guess, is that they'll probably do $700 for whatever the next gen console is, and then they'll also have the handheld thing for like $400, and they'll probably do like a $400 and a $700 model of the console. And listen, this is unfortunately the world we got into, where everything is way more expensive than it used to be. Shit is just expensive, and people keep talking like prices are going to go down, but unfortunately this is what happens with inflation. Prices go up, and the goal is to stop inflation from increasing so we can stop prices from rising. But there is no hope that prices come down. That's not how this works. It's not like eggs used to cost $1.50 a carton. Now they cost $3.50 a carton. What can we do to make the price go back to $1.50? It's like, no, it's like eggs went from $1.50 to $3.50. What can we do to slow inflation so we don't have to raise it beyond $3.50 even higher? So that's the world we're in. We just have to get used to that. If you want the cost of living to feel similar to how it did 5 years ago, the only solution is to make more money to catch up to where the cost of living has risen to. And I'm not saying that to be like a dick. I'm saying that because it's like just being realistic about it, and just looking at the situation historically and just from a more, just a more honest and realistic point of view. The only real solution to fix what's going on a personal level is to make more money to catch up with where cost of living has gone. It fucking sucks. It's ridiculous. Yes, we are all old people now. The pandemic has officially made us all old men to where we can go, I remember back in the day when a Spirit airline flight from Orlando, Florida to Atlanta, Georgia was only $89.99. And nowadays it's like, you want to fly from Orlando, Florida to Atlanta, Georgia, a 1-hour flight? That's going to be $287. Fucking sucks. But our government sanctions price gouging because we serve the corporations, and because once prices go up, they don't come down. They just stay there or they go up further. And so that's just kind of where we're at. And so we're all going to remember the day of a $300 Xbox Series S. And we're all going to remember the day, I don't fucking know what else. Things that have gone up in price, right? You know, we talked about eggs. This is just the world we live in. So at what point does the hobby become too expensive? I got to be honest, not to be cold-hearted about it. I understand things are tough, and it's a global issue. It's not just a U.S. issue. The price of everything is getting out of hand, and I hate how, of course, naturally, it ends up becoming the burden of the working class everyday man, while, you know, the rich elite don't have to deal with fucking shit because they're rich, and the corporations just get to raise the prices and not really feel the pain. But if I'm just being completely honest, I think gaming is a pretty affordable hobby. And obviously that's relative. You know, if you asked me if I thought gaming was an affordable hobby when I was 12 years old, I would say, it fucking sucks, man. I can't get any of the games I want to play. There's all these games I want to play and I don't have any money. But I don't know. I think gaming is relatively affordable. You think about, like, the fact that games were $60 for so goddamn long. They withstood so much inflation and never budged. And now they're $70. It's like, you think about your average game, you get it for $70. You play it for anywhere from like 15 hours to 200 hours. It's like you get a lot of value out of that. There's a lot to enjoy, a lot to appreciate. You buy a console for $500, and then that's your console for 6 to 8 years. Like, that's pretty good value, man. You buy a phone for like $1,000 now, and then you replace it in 2 years. So I don't know about you. I still think gaming is a solid value. You think about going to the movie theaters. 2 people can't go to the theaters for under like $35, $40 on the low end of things now. So, like, I don't really, like, everything is expensive. I still think gaming being this thing where it's like you buy a game, you own the console, you make that investment, then you have it for 6 to 8 years, and then you buy a single game, and that's like your entertainment budget, and it'll keep you satisfied as hell for like anywhere from like a week to a couple months. It's like, that's pretty good value, man, because if you go out, you know, if you want to go out to dinner and a movie, that's $100 to $150, $200, depending on where you go eat, really. You know, you want to go out to the bar, you want to go watch the sports game at the bar, good fucking luck. That's like $50 at least right there, just to grab a couple drinks and an appetizer and sit there and watch football. Like, that's like $60. It's a lot of money. So gaming, I think, is a relatively, I don't know what the fuck you can do today for under $50, really. And gaming, I think, is relatively really cheap. You got amazing indie games. Everything's always on sale. AAA games always go on sale months after they come out. $70 in the first place, I don't think is really asking that much for a AAA game. $500, $600 for a console. It's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money. You know, the difference between having $700 versus not having $700 is a lot of money. But $700 for a PlayStation that is going to entertain you for many years and give you access to many things to do that will waste many hours of your life, I think is pretty fucking good value in the long run. I don't know what people want, you know? It's like, why are we seeing so many layoffs in the games industry? Because gaming is expensive as fuck. These machines are expensive. The cost of developing games is expensive. The expectations of these teams, it's a lot. Like, what do you want? What would be an appropriate price point? Because it would be ridiculously unrealistic to expect, you know, everything to stay at $500 after everything we've gone through in the past 4 years since the last consoles came out. So it sucks. It is a lot of money, but I don't think it's bad value, and I don't think the hobby has become too expensive personally. And I know I say that from a very privileged position of being able to be an adult that doesn't have children, right? You know, but like, I just don't know. I don't see how video games are expensive. Maybe that's because my other big hobby is Disney theme parks, and compared to Disney theme parks, fucking, I don't know, investing in real estate is affordable relative to going to Disney World. So maybe that's just because I have a skewed perception of what affordability is, but I just think gaming is really, really still a superb value in entertainment. And I have yet to, even what's happened with pricing in the past few years just has yet to really change my mind on that. Cronky says, The fun thing about the PS5 Pro is that all the 30 FPS Xbox games will finally be 60 FPS when they go to PlayStation. That is one thing that is a conundrum, right? Xbox is putting all their games on PlayStation. PlayStation is going to have a more powerful console that will be able to run and make these Xbox games look better than they do on Xbox. And that is just another notch in the notch in your bedpost, but you're just the lighting is on. It's just another thing to make Xbox look fucking stupid and like a useless purchase when compared to a PlayStation. And I got nothing to say to it. Listen, this is the Xbox. This is the bet Xbox wants to make, or that Microsoft is forcing Xbox to make, and now they got to lay in it. And this is what's going to happen. I really do think what's going to happen with Xbox hardware in the long run is it's a boutique thing. They're not going to live and die by the hardware. The hardware is going to be there for those that want it. Very similar to how Steam has the Steam Deck. You know, Steam will not go away if people stop buying the Steam Deck, but it is a supplemental hardware offering that they have for those that want it. For everyone else, go buy a PlayStation, go play your games on PC, go do whatever the fuck you want. Unfortunately, that is the future of Xbox as they lean more and more into publishing and services and less into hardware and platform holder, but I'm so tired of that conversation because I hate it. But guys, that's really it for our news this week. So there it is. PlayStation has the PS5 Pro. It's real. It's happening. Patience. We know Xbox. Well, Xbox has that Series X with 2 terabytes. That's $600 that comes out in a little bit. 2 terabyte hard drive, $600. Not a terrible value compared to the PS5 Pro, but for only $100 more, you get a Pro model. But aside from that, I mean, we're like a year out from learning about the next generation of Xbox. I think it's going to be one of those things where, like, optically, fanboys and hardcore gamers are going to make a stink about it for a while. But in the long run, I don't think Xbox skipping out on a mid-generation hardware refresh and just going straight into the next generation, I don't think it's going to have a huge negative impact on them. I think it's going to ultimately end up being a better move for them. But we'll have to wait and see. I feel optimistic that Xbox is making a good decision by just jumping the gun on next gen and ignoring the mid-generation thing. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. All right, guys, this is going to bring us to normally we would do the important enough news stories important enough to make the podcast, but not important enough to warrant their own discussions. However, it's one of those weeks. We just don't have anything to add here. It's kind of rare, but here it is. There's nothing to say. So that's going to bring us to the final segment of the podcast, the comments, the shout-outs, youtube.com. You know how it goes. You head on over to the website, youtube.com/XboxOnPodcast. That is at XboxOnPodcast at youtube.com. Click on the latest episode, drop a comment. I don't really give a shit what you say. We get all kinds of comments. They're kind of weird sometimes. Sometimes they're fun. I don't really care. Just drop a comment. I will read it. Honestly, the only thing I really ask of you, if you have access to Apple podcast services or really any podcast service, but namely Apple, I'd really, really appreciate 5-star reviews. Do not waste your time giving me a 4-star review and being like, pretty good show. I think the host could do a little better, and here's my positive, here's my constructive feedback. I don't really care about constructive feedback. I just want 5-star reviews. Tell me you love me. Tell me I'm great. Otherwise, don't waste your time. But I appreciate you guys, as always. Let's jump in this week with 6 comments. Well, we had 10, but we read a bunch of them throughout the show. So we have 6 remaining comments. Starting off with Manfred James, who is following up from his comment a few weeks ago that I don't remember, but I know you wrote in a few weeks ago when we read it on the show. And you responded and said, yeah, you know better to zip it, punk, good boy. Confetti emoji. Manfred James, have a wonderful week. Arctic Chief writes in, good to see you, buddy. Did I hear that right? 9/5, September 5th is your anniversary? My wife and I's marriage anniversary is also today. Well, happy anniversary to you and your wife. Look, Arctic Chief and I, we are kindred spirits. Much like how he loves his wife, I love my girlfriend, and we decided to make that loving commitment on the same day. Maybe not the same year, maybe the same year. I don't fucking know. I've known my girlfriend for a long time. So long that it's embarrassing that she's still my girlfriend. I should probably do something about that. But let's continue on. Arctic Chief says, to catch up on a few things mentioned over the last few weeks. 1, I would absolutely love an Xbox handheld. You, me, both, brother. 2, I'm okay with Xbox games going across platform. I just wish it was a fair exchange from the other companies. I'll stop in between these points. I agree it would be great for PlayStation to give us Spider-Man and Astrobot on Xbox. I just think PlayStation has zero incentive to do that because PlayStation's doing phenomenally well and Xbox is hurting. And so why the fuck would you help your competition by giving them a game? It just doesn't make sense. but I would love it. I'm with you. I wish it was reciprocated. I would love to play Helldivers on my Xbox instead of my PC. That'd be wonderful. Number 3, I heard you mention you couldn't care less for Assassin's Creed. Lol. I love them. I wish they were not as huge as they are, though. To be fair, I've never really played Assassin's Creed. I wanted to play the 3rd one. I wanted to play the 4th one. Not enough to actually play them. But yeah, Assassin's Creed, it just does nothing for me. But to each their own. I recognize they're obviously very popular. I'm obviously in the minority on that. Clearly, people love these games, and that's great. More power to you. But yeah, Assassin's Creed makes me want to go sleepy night time because I just don't care. But you said 4, the Taco Bell app is a blessing and a curse. Save the money while ordering, spend more since it's cheaper via the app. Oh, wait. Speaking of Taco Bell, that's a great tip, by the way. I have the Taco Bell gelato, the Baja Blast gelato. I forgot to tell you guys about that. It's not good. It's really nothing special. I have nothing to say about it. It's not bad. It's really painfully uninteresting. I don't care about it. So we'll put that out there. And then 9, you said, I've managed to lose 9 pounds changing my eating habits, cutting out red meat. I've just been more aware of what I eat and how much. Bro, congratulations. That's awesome. Dude, portion control is like everything, man. Everything, really. And yeah, red meat is fucking terrible for you. I try to cut out red meat as much as I can, but dude, you would think it'd be the other way around, but my girlfriend is the problem with that. Like, I'm happy to buy like salmon, shrimp, chicken. We'll just eat this. These are our proteins. We'll do a vegetarian night. We'll do a chicken night. We'll do a shrimp night, whatever. But she's the one, when it's her turn to grocery shop, she's like, steak and pork and all this shit. I'm like, dude, what, you're trying to fucking kill me. But dude, shout out to you. 9 pounds down. That's fucking amazing. Keep up the great work. I'm happy for you. He said, wrapped up with, sorry, it's been over 2 months since I've commented. I keep meaning to comment on Wednesdays, then I get caught up. I know, excuses. I'm here now. I've been enjoying the podcast every week. Still, keep up the great work, Jesse, and happy anniversary to you and your other half as well. Well, happy anniversary to you and your wife, and do not apologize for not commenting. It is totally fine, man. You are your own person with your own fucking life. I'm sure you are very busy and you have better things to do than leave comments every single week on this podcast. So that would be an unrealistic expectation and a ridiculous expectation. So just know, I always appreciate when we get to hear from you. Same goes to all you guys. I always appreciate, especially you reoccurring commenters, long-term listeners. I always just appreciate hearing from you guys. There's no obligation for you to comment each and every week. You never need to say sorry. That's silly and ridiculous. Just do your thing, live your life. But just know that when you do comment, of course, it's always great to hear from you. It's always great to see you. It's good to know you're well and that, awesome. Good stuff, man. Anniversary, losing weight, realizing the Taco Bell app is kind of a fucking scam. Love it. Arctic Chief, be well, my guy. All right. William Fontanez writes in and says, thanks for the response. This is an update. This is the guy that told me I was like Mr. Incredible at his day job, being all miserable. He says, thanks for the response and keep your head up. You'll get a yacht like me one day when you're financially intelligent and create a large portfolio, but don't forget, we need workers like you so society can be balanced. Everyone can't be the boss. And besides, we need people like you who are told what to do. If you were to ever be out of a job, I would definitely love to have you clean my floors or shine my shoes based on how you just said you love to work. What's life without obedient men like you? Heart emoji. Well, thank you, William. I appreciate knowing that there is a backup for me in case something were to happen with my current job and things fell through. It's just comforting to know that I would have a job with you, being able to clean your floors. I hopefully in exchange for U.S. currency instead of something, I don't know, maybe you try to pay me tuppence like some kind of British man. I don't fucking know. Your name is William Fontanez, which means you could be any kind of variety. You could be paying me in any kind of variety of European currency for all I fucking know. Give me that monopoly money like the Canadians have, for Christ's sake. I don't know. But thank you for the job offer, and thank you for the encouragement. I will continue to be a happy, busy working bee, but yeah. Oh, I hope you liked, by the way, my joke last week, right, about the first-person shooter. I hardly first-person knower. I hope you knew that was for you. All right, Angie Bayon writes in. Shit, I didn't check. Is this a new commenter? Is this the first? Yeah, this is the first comment. Oh my God, welcome, a new commenter, welcome. All right, coming back to gaming in 2024. I love this comment. All right, so Angie writes in and says, I recently just got back into gaming after taking a 7-year hiatus because I was one of those people who got made fun of for having the last gen console while the 8th gen was still out there. And I gotta say, why is gaming a hassle now? First of all, fuck those people. Play the games you got. Who gives a shit? Games are games. Enjoy what you got. You said, okay, when I was on the Xbox 360, you just put a disc in and it played the games automatically. Now disc games have to install on the latest Xbox. I thought it was just an Xbox thing, so I got a PS5, and it's the same problem. Are both platforms working together? Because why are they so alike? Disc games have to install, paying for multiplayer, etc. Like, why is there similarities? I could have sworn PS3 multiplayer was free, not the PS5. Wow. Okay. First of all, Angie, welcome back to gaming. Glad you're here. Yeah, and feel free to write in with any questions you have to catch up on anything you may have missed over the past 7 years or so. But yeah, it's first of all, that's fucking awesome that you took a 7-year hiatus. You have so many really awesome video games that you can experience now, so many things you can catch up on, and you can get these games for like dirt cheap now because you weren't buying them all for 60, 70 bucks as they came out. So that's a huge perk and incentive. Dude, if you could take away 7 years of gaming from my life, oh my God. Think about all the great games you could play for the first time right now for dirt cheap. Not that you need more games to play because there's always just too many games. But in any case, yeah, I think I can clear the air on some of this. So, well, interestingly enough, the first home console that forced you to install games was actually the PlayStation 3. So Sony did that first. That wasn't Xbox. Xbox 360 had a couple of games that would do that. I remember, how did they do that on 360? I remember it was like in 2009 or something. They introduced it. It was like maybe it was with the '08 Xbox dashboard update where they're like, you can now install your games so that when you put a disc in, it just acts as a key instead of reading the disc and spinning it. But anyway, long story short, the reason why all consoles require you to install games isn't because they're conspiring against you. It's because back in the day, game files used to be so small that you could fit all that information on a disc. And then when you put the disc in your Xbox, your PlayStation, or whatever you were playing on, the console would read the game off the disc. The disc would spin like a CD would in a Walkman, and all the information on the disc would be read by your console, and that is how games would be played off the disc. But nowadays, games are so asset intense. There's so much to them that they don't read off the disc because that speed is too slow. So basically, games have to install on your hard drive because the game has to run. Basically, once that disc is in there, once you install a game, that disc acts as basically an unlock key that just tells the console, yes, this game is inside this console. Now you can play this game. But really what your console is doing is it's playing the game. It's loading the game based on your hard drive because the game installs to your hard drive, because your hard drive, whether it's a HDD, like HDD like on an Xbox One or like an Xbox 360, or if it's like an SD or SSD, like a solid state drive like newer consoles have, the read speed on those hard drives are super fast compared to reading off a disc. Reading data off a disc is really, really slow by comparison. So it's just how games have to be accessed now because file sizes are so fucking big. You know, games aren't like 8 megabytes anymore. They're like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 gigabytes in some cases. You know, look at Call of Duty, sometimes getting over 200 gigabytes for an install. So that's the long and short of why you have to install your games, is because game files are just so big now. They have to be read off the faster storage that's built into your console versus the slow speed of reading directly from a disc. Hope that clarifies it. Yeah, it's not fun. It's not cool that we have to install games, but as games become higher fidelity and more, larger and bigger and grander and all that, compromise has to be made somewhere. That's just one of the things that comes with it. But yeah, that's not going away. That's just how that is. If you want to get around installing games, one thing you could do, and this is something that's great about Xbox, is if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you can use the cloud streaming feature, and with not all, but most Game Pass games, you can stream them from the cloud. So if you're like, hey, I want to really give Dead Island 2 a try, but I don't know that I want to sit here for an hour and download 57 gigabytes of data first to try this game out. Well, you can just cloud stream it and then immediately access it for the cloud. You're not downloading the game, you're just streaming it to your Xbox from a server somewhere else. And that way you can play the game instantly. Obviously, once you're streaming it, you might get poor service depending on where you are and what kind of internet you have. But generally, I find streaming on my Xbox is really, really good. I have pretty much great experiences with it 99% of the time. And so, yeah, I mean, the other week I wanted to play Forza Horizon 5 and my Xbox Series X didn't have enough storage to reinstall it. So I just streamed the game. I played it for 2 days straight and I just streamed it. So yeah, you could do that. But yeah, unfortunately, that is just part of how modern gaming works. Let's see. Did you say something else? I feel like there's something else you said. Oh, yeah, multiplayer being free. Yeah, so in the PS3 generation, multiplayer was free. Xbox was the first to charge for that with Xbox Live. Remember back in the day, we had Silver, which was the free version, and then Gold, which is the one that let you play online. PlayStation followed suit because that is how everything works. If your competitor's getting away with charging to play games online, you would be stupid to leave all that money on the table and not do the same. PlayStation followed suit with Xbox and started charging for multiplayer, and then Xbox followed suit with PlayStation and started giving freebies, and that's how we got games with gold, and PlayStation did PlayStation Plus extras, and then blah, 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 blah. Game Pass then inspired the new PlayStation Plus tiers they have, and they always go back and forth. And one of them does something that the other one is able to be successful with. The other one will copy it because if there's money to be made, it's probably your obligation as a corporation to make that money. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having fun. Let me know if you need any game recommendations or if you have any other questions. But thank you for listening. Thank you for writing in, Angie, and welcome back to the world of gaming. People are dicks. I'm sorry that people made fun of you for playing on older hardware. Play whatever the fuck you have. There are great games on every console. Just enjoy what you have. Who gives a shit? But yeah, have a great week. Thank you for writing in. Cronky writes in with a doubleheader and says, sorry for the million comments this week because I didn't. He wrote like 4 or 5, but we're only reading these ones. So, silly one, then a serious one. To be completely fair, the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Epcot kind of makes sense in Epcot because the theming is about cultures meeting and joining together. Shut the fuck up. No. Shut up. No. Listen, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is a very fun roller coaster. It's just in the wrong park. All right, serious comment. He says, not you says, I cannot emphasize enough how not clear it is that the future of gaming is streaming. People keep saying that as if it's guaranteed. Streaming games is so mind-blowing, but it's very expensive that the idea of it being guaranteed to be our future is absurd. There was a time where people were sure the future was VR or crypto. People think that AI model is the future. AI models are the future. I think we're all in for a surprise when profit-driven societies cannot advance in unprofitable ways. Selling a box and then selling games on it, or getting people to pay you enough to make make streaming games over the cloud viable, seems to me like the obvious choice is the one that makes the company more money, and not the one that isn't, and that is not streaming. xCloud already exists, and we don't use it. And you know damn well that playing games on your G Cloud is an inferior experience to the big screen. Yeah, but I love playing games on my G Cloud. I can lay in bed and play my Xbox. I can't do that with the Xbox at the TV. And like I said, the other day I wanted to play Forza, and I didn't have the storage on my console, so I just streamed it for the day. And after like 5 minutes of being like, oh, it's like a little fuzzy, I forgot about it and just had a good time playing Forza without having to install it. So it has its ups and downs, pros and cons, and the service has gotten better and better. I've used Xbox streaming on and off for the past 4 years, and I would say that as time has gone by, I have used streaming more and more. Like my usage of Xbox's cloud streaming has only increased with time rather than gone down or stayed the same. So sorry, that's my chair, not me. I'm streaming more than ever before, and I'm finding the technology is getting better and better, and the experience is getting more and more seamless. So from a user experience, I think it absolutely could be the future. It's just a matter of getting everyone's internet up to snuff and getting to that point where consoles start to fade out, which I do think is an inevitability. You know, as these boxes start to become $700-800, people might look to subscription services more and more. And as the subscription streaming services get better and better, you know, it might take a long ass time. I think streaming games makes a lot more sense than VR. I think streaming games makes a lot more sense than AI. Here's the thing is, a lot of AI technology we're getting right now are solutions to problems that nobody has. They are features that nobody's asking for, and they are solving problems that nobody cares about solving and nobody cares about having. I think AI is going to do great things technologically for humanity, but I'm not talking about Bing chat or like your iPhone can take a picture and then erase someone in the background. Aside from some novelty parlor tricks, I don't think the way we're getting AI is the way AI is going to help us down in the future. And also, AI is a big buzz term. A lot of things AI does that are helpful are things that we've had forever. Machine learning is not new. It's just being marketed to us right now because this is Apple and Google and Samsung's current way of trying to push us all into thinking that the future is here and now, and to drive their share prices up, their stock prices up. But listen, you make some good points. But here's the thing. People thought crypto was the future. No. A very loud minority of people thought crypto was the future, and the rest of us laughed at them. Remember that one guy that used to write in all the time, make fun of us for not believing in crypto? Where is he now? He hasn't written in years. Okay, there you go. People thought VR was the future. No. People were conflicted about VR being the future because we all think it sounds futuristic and high-tech and cool, but we all agree that wearing a headset is cumbersome, exhausting, and inconvenient. Now, the thing about streaming is it solves a problem by making things easier and more accessible and lowering the barrier to entry. Crypto makes things more confusing because it says the money you use today is stupid, dumb, and broken. Use this instead. And people go, oh my God, well, I didn't even know I needed to change my currency. VR is not the future because it says buy more hardware, put it on your head, block yourself out from the rest of the world, and get active while you play games. And people go, that sounds like a hassle. I don't want to do that. Streaming is a solution because it says don't spend $500 to $800 on a console. Don't buy a million different games. Do not go to the store and buy physical games and install them onto your hardware. It says pay a subscription fee and just stream whatever you want to whatever device. It's just that easy. It's kind of like music, right? How many people go to FYE to buy their CDs today, right? And then add them into their fucking, load them into their iTunes library or play them out of their CD player. Nobody. But we all subscribe to Spotify because streaming music is super fucking easy and accessible. And even though technically the quality when streaming music is not as high as listening to it off a record or whatever, there is a small minority of people who give a shit about that. And the overwhelming majority, 99.9% of people go, I don't give a shit about audio quality and audio files. I just want to fucking pay one price and get every song in the world on my iPhone through this little app called Spotify. And that's the thing about streaming is it simplifies, streamlines, lowers the barrier to entry, makes things accessible, and makes things affordable for people. So especially when you're looking at markets that aren't the traditional hard home console market, you're looking at Korea, you're looking at Japan, or no, Japan is definitely a traditional home console market. You're looking at Korea, you're looking at China, you're looking at new and upcoming markets like India and stuff, and places in Africa. These are places where people did not grow up with a Nintendo or a PlayStation or an Xbox in their living room and don't have the fucking muscle memory and nostalgia for sitting in front of the TV rotting your brain away with a controller in your hand. So the idea of getting someone into video games and these new territories where gaming is growing by streaming is actually incredibly enticing because it says, don't buy a $500 console. Don't buy an $800 console. Don't subscribe to PlayStation Plus or Game Pass in addition to buying a console. Don't buy your games physically or individually. Just subscribe to GeForce Now or just subscribe to Game Pass for PC. Plug any fucking controller you can get your hands on into your computer, which you have anyway because you have a job, you work. And you can just stream games. Stream it to your tablet, stream it to your phone, stream it to your computer, whatever you got. Stream it to your Amazon Fire TV, whatever the hell you have. We will meet you where you're at. We will lower the barrier to entry. You do not have to buy the game. You do not have to buy the console. Just subscribe to the service and you can access everything. That sounds like the future, man. I'm sorry. Maybe I am wrong. I'm wrong about things all the time. I don't think I'm the fucking messiah of the future of video games or any of that shit. But I just think that streaming absolutely solves problems, whereas things like VR introduces new ways to play that may or may not be attractive. So I don't know. I think you raise good points by talking about how incredibly expensive it is to operate video game streaming services, how expensive those server farms are and everything. And these are problems that I'm too stupid to understand and figure out my own and solve. But these are problems that are being addressed and being worked on. And you cannot tell me that as the console home console prices continue to rise, that more and more people, as newer generations who are less and less entrenched in the console experience grow up, that these people are going to continue to buy and buy and buy hardware and ignore things like streaming. In a world where everyone just wants to free to play Fortnite, you have a better chance of getting the new generation of kids to stream than you do to get them to buy an $800 PS5 Pro X 6th edition. So I don't know, man. I'm not saying streaming is the future now. Consoles are dead now. Streaming is all anyone cares about now. I'm not saying that. But I am saying in the long term, whether that's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, I don't know. But streaming is the future. That's just how what I genuinely believe right now. I'm not saying it's my favorite. I just think it's true. All right. Thank you for writing in, Cronky. Now, finally, let's wrap up with the best, the last, Mr. Sexy Ass Headhunting Halo. He wrote this comment as we were recording last week, so we didn't read it. Or maybe we did. I don't know. Maybe I fucked up. Maybe we're reading it a second time. I don't know. So Mountain Dew Voodoo 2024 will be here, the last year for Voodoo flavor next year, and they are rebranding it with a new candy flavor. Halloween sucks, because Voodoo is my favorite, and I will be collecting this can for the memories. Who's ready for Assassin's Creed Shadows? Also, since we're on the topic of candy, what's your favorite candy? Headhunting Halo, they're not discontinuing Voodoo. I looked into this. That is not true. Stop spreading lies. Stop breaking my heart. The new Voodoo should be out any day now, and there's no indication that's the last year they're doing that. So please watch yourself. Do not go spreading misinformation and breaking hearts. Now, while we're on the topic of favorite candy, let me simplify this. I'm just talking purely in the realm of like Halloween candy, because I assume that's what we're talking about here. Let me just put this plain and clear. Chocolate over candy, so like fruit candy, hard candy, lollipops, gummies, sours, whatever, all are greatly inferior to chocolate. So chocolate is God tier. And my answer to this can change on any given day of the year, or any given day of the week, or whatever the expression is. But I will just say Twix, Milky Way, Reese's Cup, Hershey, can't go wrong. Any of them. The answer is whichever one I can get my fucking hands on. Delicious. Snickers, delicious. Any of them. That's my favorite candies. Whatever. Honestly, I don't know. Today I kind of feel like saying Twix. Kit Kat's a really good one. Oh, Kit Kat's so good. But yeah, those kinds of things. Definitely the favorite candy. I did a podcast with my buddy Hunter a few years ago. His podcast, Grim Grinning Hosts, which is, I don't even know what that podcast is about anymore. I started listening to that podcast years before I even knew that guy. And it was about theme parks, everything from like Disney to Six Flags to Universal to Busch Gardens to fucking, I don't know, whatever, Dollywood. And I don't really know what it's about now, because sometimes now it's about music, sometimes it's about horror, sometimes it's about, I don't know what it's about, but it's a good show. It's like nerd pop culture stuff. It's a topical show, a rotating cast of hosts, but it's my buddy's podcast, and he and one of his buddies host it, and it's a really good show. And they had me on a few years ago for Halloween, so it's probably like October or September 2022, I want to say. And we did a podcast where we ate like 50 of the most popular Halloween candies and then ranked them from best to worst. So the podcast is called Grim Grinning Hosts, like a play on the Disney Haunted Mansion Grim Grinning Hosts, which since it's an Xbox podcast, maybe zero people understand that reference, but it's a clever name. If you know it's a clever name. It's a good play on words. Fuck you. It's a good name for a podcast. And so go find that, and then you can listen to a more nuanced conversation about ranking Halloween candy. But other than that, I'm out. I'm tapped. I'm good. I'm done. Maybe we did read this comment last week. I don't fucking remember. Guys, thank you all for listening to the Xbox On podcast. It's a weird one. A lot of PlayStation news. But I had fun talking with all of you today, and hope you had a great day. We will be back next week. I'll record on normal Wednesday nights so that when it goes live Thursday, it is as up-to-date as possible. But this week, there's going to be a little gap in the schedule. Recording on Tuesday, going live on a Thursday. Hopefully nothing too crazy happens on Wednesday, but I will be having a little anniversary celebration with my girlfriend, doing a little staycation at Universal, going to Halloween Horror Nights. I'm just excited because we get to go to the Cabana Bay Hotel at Universal, which is like my favorite hotel in the world. So I'm just excited to go stay there. I wish I could live at that fucking hotel. So all good stuff. Guys, have a great week. Be safe, be well, take care of yourselves, If you're going to pre-order the $700 PlayStation 5, do it with gumption. Do it with gusto. Don't be a bitch about it. That's all I got to say to you. Until next week, power your slightly less powerful than PlayStation 5 Pro dreams.